Hello and welcome to the Ask Aviator podcast number 9. I think it's 9. Once again, guys, we've got the incredible Greyhound pups here. We've got basically a great show on the docket for you guys. We have some announcements. We want to answer some questions, get people rolling forward and excited about flying paramotors. Right now, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Eric Farewell. I'm coming to you from our North Complex, the War Room in Lake Wales, Florida, at Aviator Paramotor. We've got the Atom from Fly Products behind us. This one is actually in really dirty condition because the airport's been under construction for like 15 years, it feels like, and it's so dusty everywhere. Oh my gosh. But let me say thank you and hello to a few people. Robert Durbin, good to see you, brother man. I hope you delivered a bottle of Tito's for me today. Toledo Flyboys, hello and welcome. Sandor, great to see you as well. Scud Surfer, hello. Ohio Talon, Ripman Riding, Rob Keane, Mike Cotter, and Brandon Hughes. Craig Taylor, nice to see you as well. Always a pleasure, guys. It's awesome to have the entire community starting to come together on Tuesday nights here. I know the times sometimes get screwy. Our standard time, 6 o'clock, just so that we're not here till stupidly late. I think it was 2 podcasts ago. I came to work at 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:15 in the morning, and I got home at like 10:45 at night, or left work at 10:45 at night. So very long days. Caleb Johnson, good to see you as well, my friend. And hello to Daily Shorts. That's quite the name. Guys, it's going to be a great show. We've got a few different guests for you. We've sent the delivery crews out for a case of Corona to be able to support our incredible crew behind the camera. We've got Nina and John, Alex. We've got a few other guests we're going to bring in a little bit later. Some really great folks. It's been quite the week here at Aviator. We had 6 new pilots today. We're very excited for them. They all took to the skies with great glee and joy and just freaking rocked it. A lot of our staff has been back to flying a lot more frequently again. Alex, who you guys saw last week, learned to trike last month or 2 months ago. He learned to fly foot launch a year ago this month. He's back to foot launching again every single day, which is great. So lots of changes, lots of good stuff. We're very excited, and we'll share more. Parker, welcome. Emilio, welcome as well. Fly Guy Alberta, good to see you again. Bradley is Maximus, good to see you. Brandon Hughes, you're making burgers. Can I have a burger? Because a burger sounds good. I had 2 burgers yesterday. Actually, no, I had 3, and they were delicious. Robert's on his way for delivery. Partha, good to see you, brother man. Starfighter, always a pleasure. Guys, I would love nothing more than, whether it's right now in the chat live or if you're listening to this on the podcast or watching the video later on, I would love it if you guys would take some time to write us your questions throughout the week. You can email us at info@aviatorppg.com. That'll give you a great opportunity to literally type up a long form question, short form question, something you want to learn more about. One of the questions we received a ton, Mary says it's at least 15 times a day. I'm not sure if it's that many, but it might be. She says that one of the biggest questions we get is what wing is right for you. And so actually we recorded part 1 of a multi-part series where I'm standing in front of a whiteboard explaining the differences, benefits, and reasons why you should buy what you should buy, blah, blah, blah. That should be coming out, I believe, by Friday. Sorry, he just pointed at me and said tomorrow. John Hancock is the man. He's been editing it up. So hopefully tomorrow that video will release. That'll be video episode or video 1 in a series about what wings you should buy. Matthew Pesci? I'm going to go with Pesci. Welcome, and thank you for watching from San Diego. I can't believe you're still at work and watching this. Mitch Briggs, great to see you. Scud Surfer, will you still answer from the chat for lazy people? Of course I'll answer from the chat for lazy people. It's just a little bit harder to read a chat over here, talk to someone over here, and look at the camera occasionally to feel like I'm engaging with you guys. So I am always working my very best to keep up, I promise. Amelia asks, have you checked out the Midwest PPG or Michigan Alliance team? I live in Ohio, but travel to Florida and train with Four Winds. Highly recommend any Alliance member. This is in relation to Ohio Talon, who asked a question. Scroll down, I missed it. It's right there. Need honest opinion on Captain Kurt. I actually replied to an email about this. There's a gentleman named Captain Kurt. He runs a school where you get free training if you buy all your equipment through him. He's controversial and pretty pushy on the internet. I never want to be that guy. One thing that's really important to our entire team here at Aviator is that we never disparage anybody else. We'll be honest with you with our experiences. If I've worked with someone and I feel like they're a class act or I feel like they're not a class act based upon my personal experience, I'll be happy to share with you. I've never worked with Captain Kurt. I don't have any personal experiences with him aside from him coming by one of my fly-ins. I've never actually met the man. Stood about this far from him, but never met him. So I would tell you that you should watch his videos and talk to his past clients, go on the Paramotor Forum on Facebook, go on the Reddit's Paramotor Forum as well. Find out more about this person and see if it's someone that you want to trust with your time, your life, and your money. I won't speak to any personal experiences because I haven't had any. So definitely do your due diligence. Find someone that you really truly can trust and believe in. That's the most important thing. John next said Fly My is a great place for training. I agree. Fly My PPG or Fly Michigan PPG. Justin Fox is just truly a class act. Bob is incredible. Mike's a great guy. There's just great people, and it is one of the most beautiful places I've ever flown. I've flown all over the world, tons of states. Can't say enough about being able to take off and get knocked in the face, not with the smell of cow manure or pot, but with the smell of lavender and mint fields, and then running your feet through those fields. It is one of the most sensational experiences ever. So really good stuff. Jack Burton, hello. Good to see you from the Dominican Republic, my friend. Always a pleasure. Alejandro Diaz, see you in 58 days as well. I'm looking forward to it. That'll be awesome. Starfighter asks, what are your thoughts on starting a motor on the ground? Dude, I can tell you from the personal experience of picking up one of my friend's fingertips, it is one of the dumbest things you can possibly do in this sport. If you're flying by yourself and you don't have someone to help you start your motor on your back and you're having issues starting it, please buy a hitch carrier. Build a hitch carrier. Do something you can, whatever you can do something to keep yourself safe, because it is so unbelievably dangerous. It's so easy for that motor to rev up, and your natural reaction is to catch it. Not worth it. 100% not worth it. Speaking of wings, is it important to choose a color pattern that offers some contrast with clouds and sky? Scud Surfer, to answer your question, that's a tough one. It really depends on what your priorities are. If you're flying in a place that has lots of air traffic, I would highly recommend high visibility colors, something that will make you more visible. If you're flying in an area that doesn't have much air traffic, and maybe lots of paramotor traffic, for instance, like right here in Lake Wales, where we have a fair amount of fixed-wing traffic, but a ton of paramotors. I want something that when someone's looking down, I want them to be able to see me. For instance, Travis's wing is black, green, and blue. And when you're looking down at him, he is invisible. Okay, so while looking out in the sky, from looking from the ground to the sky, you can see him quite well. Looking down, it's really challenging. So doing aerobatics, I'm always looking for what's below me to make sure I'm clear, and he is almost impossible to see. So that's definitely a challenge. Bradley's Maximus, I have a question that might spark a good discussion. What sort of gear should students buy/show up with before training, since we should wait to buy the big items until after training? That's a freaking awesome question, Bradley's. All right, so let me give you some back history. We have trained hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Been very blessed to be able to share my love of the sport with so many. And what we've discovered, especially early on, before we really got the word out that you shouldn't buy equipment, when people showed up with their motor and wing before training, of the dozens that did so, two kept their gear. Only two. Okay, because they discovered that either the gear wasn't right for them, or they were different pilots than they thought they would be, or the gear was outdated. Only two of them kept their gear. So definitely don't buy the big items. As far as practical things you can buy that might help you, it's not so much about what you can buy, it's about what you can do. So having a good pair of shoes, a backup pair of shoes if you're flying in a place that has lots of wet grass, having a water bottle, those practical things that are important help. I highly recommend people buy a glider. If you're going to go to a reputable school, one of the Alliance members, etc., they'll be able to set you up with the right glider for your exact needs, so you can learn to kite beforehand. But the big thing is not what you buy, it's what you do, and that's something we're actually working on this week. We're coming out with our Aviator workout program. I know it sounds ridiculous, but a lot of people come into the sport and they're going to use muscles that they've never used before. Myself included. I lost 22 pounds my first year of flying because it was muscles I'd never used before. It was really challenging. So it's really about preparing your body. Even if you're a triathlete, you're going to use muscles you've never used before. So really working on building those strengths ahead of time makes a huge deal. All right, let's see. Brandon Hughes, what about starting on the ground before the prop is installed? I take it apart every time, and it would be handy to bleed the air to the fuel line before I got the prop on. If you don't have a prop on it and it has a clutch, should be no issue. If you don't have a clutch, and this is really crucial information, if you don't have a clutch and you start the motor without the prop on it, the engine will instantly spin up to such a high load that you'll seize it. okay? Because that engine not having the load that's required by the propeller that creates the drag that allows it to have the efficiency, it will. Well, I can tell you from personal experience. One of my very first motors, I had the entire clutch assembly fail and the gearbox fall off on a brand new engine. It was its third flight, I think, and the engine immediately went to 21,000 RPMs. 21,000 revolutions per minute. Not a good place to be. That engine was not happy anymore. Foot drag, trim position. Andre Gramirion, the green giant. Good to see you, brother. Andre is a male nurse in Louisiana, one of our past students, and he's built like the Hulk. He's a baller. Freaking love the guy. Trim position for the Mojo. Trims out. Anytime you're learning to do a foot drag, you want to maximize your speed so you can maximize the amount of pressure that you can utilize and gain altitude. A foot drag is operated at, especially as you're learning them, into the wind on terrain you're willing to land on, in an area you're willing to land that you can reset if you have to relay out and take off again. Just plan for a landing. You want to use the most thrust you can possibly use with your hands up with no pressure. So your feet are out, you're just out of the harness, you're ready to run. I'm just knocking stuff around, sorry. And you want to use as much power as you can without going up. So you can use brake pressure to go up and down. But trims out will give you some advantage on a Mojo because the Mojo has such a small trim range. If you were flying a reflex wing, any of the ozone wings, I would still recommend either trim line, the red line or the white line, or I would recommend trims out. Some gliders that you can't be trimmed all the way out and pull main brakes, so the wing will actually collapse. So one of the things I love about ozone is that they've designed their wings to all have trim ranges that are safe and stable. All right, Mike Cutter says, make sure you work in some hip flexor exercises. Yes, absolutely. Let's see, I'm going to read some more. Definitely curious and or interested to hear what your exercises you guys think. So one of my best friends in the entire world, his name is Marcus Yana. He's a chiropractor here in town. He also happens to be a extremely dedicated CrossFit guy and a personal trainer. Marcus and his families go back like 70 years, and he has agreed to help us because he actually is a paramotor pilot. He's also our Paradigm team doctor, super incredible dude. So he's going to help us put together the exact right exercise regime, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, for what we expect from our students so that students can have the best possible experience. There actually will be a video that you guys will see coming out soon talking about personal fitness, and not just physically, but mental fitness for students, because we've recognized as more and more people get into the sport, it's really important to find a way to ensure that students get here and they have the best possible experience. We've had in the past students that come for foot launch training and they're so out of shape that we have to transition them to trike training, and then that's taking attention away from the other students, and we don't want to do that anymore. We want to put the burden of responsibility on future students. If you're looking at coming to our school and you know that you're not fit enough to carry 60 pounds on your back and sprint for 300 yards, which doesn't take that long usually if you do it right, we want you to be honest with yourself and be able to have a better experience for you and for your classmates, because we don't just teach one-on-one, we teach in classes so the classes can have the best possible experience and grow together. So we're going to talk about that in a video upcoming soon. I was supposed to film it today and it didn't happen because I took a nap. It's been a long week. But with that in mind, talking about the idea of the classroom dynamic and about what I believe truly makes Aviator special, what makes it a different place, and what makes what we do here matter, what makes the long hours and being here for you guys after hours and sharing things, what I believe is really and truly special about what we do is the people that come involved, not just the instructors, which we have incredible instructors, not just the staff behind the camera that you can't see right now, but the students themselves and how the students open themselves and share and grow. I don't want to get into personal details, but I do want to bring one of this week's students in because I have shared a lot of my heart with him, and I've been able to see so much joy in his eyes. When he landed, he was crying. Sorry, I'm going to give you away. So I'm going to bring Jeff in. Jeff, come on around, and you can go either way. And he had his first flight last night and had another one this morning. And the one this morning was beautiful. So, Jeff Booth.
This is great.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on. If you like coffee, there's
Is it coffee?
There's coffee for you.
Oh, awesome.
So
maybe I should start out with that.
You should definitely start out with that.
That is the best coffee.
That's actually some really special coffee because if anyone knows me, they know that I really enjoy bourbon and rye. And so this is from a guy who's not even our customer yet, who came down from Pennsylvania to visit. And then the next week, he sent me this bottle of small craft brewed rye from Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh.
And it's pretty darn good stuff.
That is really good.
Yeah, so
I like Basil
thank you.
Hayden's.
Oh, I love basil.
Oh, okay. Now I know what to get you.
Basil's great. You know what I like more?
What?
Woodford Double Oak.
Woodford Double Oak.
Woodford Double
Really?
Oak and anything double oaked. If it like kicks you in the mouth like a sledgehammer and makes you drink it really slowly, so you actually have to be like afraid of it. That's perfect. All right, so tell us let's go through kind of an intro class.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about who you are, what your experience has been, and why you're here. You don't have to get personal, but I love to have people kind of capture a bit of your vision for some of the kind of like what you talked about before, where we're filling our own cup and what that will mean for the rest of your family and the rest of your life.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I've had aviation in my blood since I was a child. I've always wanted to be a pilot and always threatened to become one and found more reasons not to become one. So it's one of those deals.
It's amazing how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. And with those extracurricular things, it seems to happen that way. So I like to tell the story about my first trip to the hospital at 5 years old because I think it really sets the context. I was 5 years old. I put Barry Manilow and John Denver album sleeves on. I don't know if those were the albums or not, but I put album sleeves on, stood on the back of the couch, and jumped. And what I landed on, my forehead hit the coffee table. So I was telling this story to my daughter, and she says to me today, she goes, "The faith you had at 5."
Yep.
So that's kind of how it started. And
The
then
absolute confidence that you could fly.
it was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. Angle of attack, baby. Right. So, but speed is life and speed is control. And I didn't have any of that at that time. So, then I just had fantasies of building an airplane. And I drew pictures of wooden airplanes I was going to make out of plywood. And one day we went to my uncle's house, and he had a lawnmower that he was sending to the dump, and it was out in the front yard. And I noticed it had a horizontal shaft on it, and I was like, "Gotta have that."
By the way, he's an engineer now. So you have a horizontal shaft lawnmower.
Right.
And what'd you ask?
Yeah, I got to put a prop on that. I wanted them to give me the tractor. They said, "No, it's got blown rods." I said, "I'll fix them. I don't care. It's got a horizontal shaft." So I was really motivated to build an airplane. I was convinced I was going to make something fly. Wanted to go to Embry-Riddle. It's a long story, didn't happen. But so aviation has been something I've loved for years and years and years. It's been 22 years in a row to Sun and Fun here in Lakeland.
And then you missed this year.
And I missed the best year of all.
I mean, I got to fly in the show, so it was the best year of all.
Exactly. Yeah.
It was actually really fun.
I couldn't believe you guys. When I saw the video and it was 40-mile-an-hour winds, I'm like, unbelievable.
It was 22. It wasn't that windy.
No?
I did get picked up and I inflated the wing. Mm-hmm. And we do what's called a Cobra launch. So the wing can be flat on the ground, and you only inflate one side and kind of bring it up in a rolling maneuver, so it doesn't pull you as much.
Mm-hmm.
So I Cobra launch it, and I bring it up one side, and I moved about 15 feet that way, about 6 feet this way, straight up. And when I landed, the wing just started collapsing all over the place, and I had to get it under control. But it was an experience.
Sketchy. Or sketch.
Sketch.
It's,
Gonna quote Tucker guy.
yeah, as Tucker would say. Yeah. Sketch.
So what drew you to paramotoring in the first place?
Mr. Sketch.
Mr. Sketch.
Mr. Risky Biscuits. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I did. It wasn't like I was going to find it. It found me. And I watched the first couple Tucker videos. And then before long, I started hitting your stuff, Aviator stuff, and Woody stuff. And then all of a sudden, I realized I was sucked into this vortex. And I literally paused it after several nights of devouring these videos and said, if I don't stop, I'm going to have a conversation with my wife because I think this is going to happen. And I knew it needed to happen. I buried myself in my work for the last 4 years. to just drown out some things in my life. And I found out after doing that, I thought I was okay. Just driving forward, blinders on, smile on my face, pain on the inside, and just kept going and digging and digging and digging. And I realized when my wife said, "Oh, it's Eric Farewell's company, the son of Bob and Tina, who started Homeschoolers on the Ridge, go for it. Have fun. Do it. Have a blast."
It's incredible. So to give some back history, gosh, how long ago has it been? This would be 34 years ago. My mother, my wife's mother, and 3 other moms started a group called Homeschoolers on the Ridge. Now, homeschooling at the time was illegal. I wasn't born yet. I'm 33. But when I was born, I remember till I was about 10 years old that we couldn't go to Publix during school hours because the truant officer would catch us.
Yes.
Right? This was genuine fears.
Yes.
We couldn't go.
Yep.
And so my mom started this group, and it's now grown to I don't know how many families. I've heard numbers between 500 families and 5,000. I have no idea what the actual number is because I'm not part of it. Even though we homeschool our kids, we started the group. Why should we join?
It's a class operation.
Yeah. And so your family got involved. How long ago was that?
I got to do math now in public. They tell me not to do that. It had to be about 25 years ago or more. Yeah.
So you guys live about 45 minutes from where I grew up. So you're on the fringes. Your son's a year younger than me, I think?
He's 31.
So 2 years younger. And you guys got involved in homeschooling. And so somehow your wife knows about my mom, which is just hilarious.
She adores your mom.
My mom's incredible.
Yes.
I'm going to get her on the show, by the way. I
That
got
would
my
be
dad
great.
on. I got my dad on for like a half an hour, and I only cried twice. But it was really special. I'll do a family episode with them sometime. So you discover paramotor through Tucker's videos. You get your wife convinced that somehow going to the farewell school is reasonable. Then you called Mary. And you were told to be a year.
And I said, well, I'm sure you hear this from everybody, but actually it was Angelina. So I said, I'm sure you hear this from everybody, but I want to start now. I know I need to do this now. It's a point in my life where I need to do this. And I've got a limited number of years where I'm going to be able to, scurry across the field with the youngins. But when she said it's going to be a while, and I'm like, no, I got to do it now. She said, wait a minute, hold on. John's walking in the room, and he's waving his hand. Next voice I hear is John Hancock saying, "Hey Jeff, we have May 4th open. Can you do that?" I said, "Yes." And
this was 2 weeks ago, right?
Yes. and John goes, "Yes."
6 days ago?
It's like 7 days.
7. Oh. Baller.
So the stars lined up. So it was great. I'm glad they did line up. I know I'm supposed to be here. It's a purpose-filled event in my life right now.
So one of the things that you and I talked a lot about is when there's a traumatic event or something in our lives that shifts our course, especially as fathers, as leaders, as business owners, we generally give of ourselves and never do anything else for ourselves. And that's basically what's happened to me for the last 10 years, especially for the last year since my brother died. I have been the strong one. I've been the one that takes care of everybody else, and especially when you have the responsibility. I mean, we have 12 people here that work here that need to not only eat, but they need to thrive. And so I've made everybody else my focus, and I've recognized in the last 2 months that it's not sustainable. And I think that for me, flying has always been my safe place. It's the only place I feel not crazy. I mean, I'm ADD, ADHD, hyperkinesic. I have all these different disorders and letters and things that suddenly, when my feet leave the ground, actually, when I take that deep breath before I launch, the beehive in my brain shuts down completely. And it's just like straight lateral thought, and I feel like what normal people must feel like, and it's so peaceful.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
Because one of the things that drew me to Aviator was that one thing that you say is close your eyes, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, and I've watched other videos where these instructors are just arms flailing, you just commands left and right, unintelligible. And then you got this guy going, I know it sounds silly, but just do it because it makes a huge difference. And that stuck with me. So I think you should know that.
I had a student who wouldn't do it, and I wouldn't let him
Really?
fly.
Oh, good.
He thought he was a badass. Guess what?
What?
I have the radio. You're not a badass.
Kill.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Breaking down. So we as instructors, now mind you, Aviator's not the average paramotor school. The average paramotor school is one guy in his garage operating on the weekends when he's free and the weather's good. We have, I think, 7 instructors in the back of the room right now, 7 paid instructors for a class of 6. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of effort. And because of that, Chris, who is, he's
par excellence.
Oh my God. I don't know what I'd do without him, honestly.
Yeah.
Chris is SpaceX launch director, working directly below Elon Musk. He has Elon's cell phone number in his phone, and I still want to steal it. Chris has built some really incredible systems. A lot of them I won't talk about because I don't want people to feel on the spot. But one of the systems he's built is the rating system for each student. So each instructor can, at the end of each day, privately, this is for the instructor's information only, because at Aviator we've always believed, like, it's the number one priority for us is that safety is everything. So like before you flew, every instructor there, including me, agreed that you're ready to fly. It's a unanimous decision or you don't fly.
Yeah.
Period. Unanimous or you don't fly. And so what was really neat for me, how old are you?
53.
So you're 53. What else do you do that's physical?
So that's another thing that I just started running 5Ks. I just started running.
I started running 5 feet, so that's good. With 35 horsepower pushing me.
with a few pounds on your back, yeah.
Yeah. So you run 5Ks. You have basically no aviation experience. You were at the top of your class with guys 25 years old. Your ability to listen, integrate knowledge, and turn off your engineering brain and just do it was incredible. So you were the first person in your class to fly last night.
That was amazing. I could fly into the sunset.
You know, my dad says it perfectly. So my dad's journey to flying was really challenging. He got 2 flights and had about 100 practice launches over a month before he flew again. And he was ready to give up over and over. And we talk about the fact that it's a practice launch. Never a failure. But my dad flew again. And he got up in the air, flew around. And then somehow, I'm not sure if it was after he landed or when he was flying, I told him, look at this beautiful sunset you're getting to fly. You're getting to see. He says, I'm not watching the sunset. I'm in the sunset. And I've used that line ever since. That was 5 years ago. And he's flown every flyable day since. It actually really irritates me a little bit because he's flown way more than me the last 5 years. He's probably caught up to me in hours, honestly.
Really?
He flies so much. He just got a new, got one of these, Fly Products Rider with 185 and Roadster 324. And he's posting videos because my grandparents bought a house on an island in the 1950s or 60s. And you can only get there by boat or by plane or by paramotor. So he takes his boat, he puts the paramotor on the boat, and he calls it the world's cheapest aircraft carrier. And he goes over and he flies every day, and it's incredible. So they're up there for 4 weeks right now, and he already has like 7 tandems booked because he's our tandem pilot here. But tell me a little bit about, because I know we have to get back to questions before people start murdering us. Tell me a little bit about what you experienced in your first flight, and then again on your second flight, because to me, the first flight's incredible. It's intoxicating. You don't remember most of it. The second flight's when it all comes together.
Yeah, exactly.
How'd it feel?
So the first flight was, there's a million things you're thinking when you're trying to remember all of the procedures and do everything right. And then when they say, okay, back down to cruise, that's when you can finally take it in.
Yep.
And it became a spiritual experience for me. It just downright, yeah. So came in, a little sketch. Don't need to get into that, but I'm here talking about it.
He made a few small mistakes. He recovered.
Yes. So I took the things that I did wrong, and that's the habit that I try to get into is ask every instructor as often as I can, what can I improve on? Because I didn't want to just right on, hey, I feel like I'm doing pretty good right now. And you could get the arrogance of that will get you in trouble very, very quickly. So learning from that, just asking them, what can I improve on? What can I improve on? And they shared. And so I would take those things, I'd go home and I'd just walk through, I'd build this contraption and I would use your video.
I love this, by the way. I wish I could show a picture because it is the most bizarre looking thing. And your kids kept saying, "Dad, are you going to go out and fly your stick again?"
Yeah, fly your rope and stick. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, basically I created handbrakes and A's and I walked through all the visualizations with my eyes closed and launch. And it was based on your video that you guys, the instructional one that you put together.
You should have bought a wing first. It's way better with a wing instead of a stick.
If I
It flies better, I promise.
I'm leaving here with a wing and more. I'll tell you that right now. So I took what the instructors were telling me. I went home and I visualized myself to sleep with all of that. I woke up at 4 a.m. Couldn't stop thinking about the most amazing day of my life, other than the birth of my children and the marriage to my wife. It's going to be out there forever, right? So, so
careful what you say.
Yeah. So at 4 a.m. I woke up again, couldn't get back to sleep. And I thought, okay, let me just visualize myself asleep again. I'm doing all the pressure, power, all that stuff. So came in this morning and all that paid off. It paid off in spades. It was amazing. So yeah, I had it wasn't perfect by any measure, the launch this morning, but it was 400% improvement over the first launch. So I felt really good.
More pressure. We were talking about this, and it's actually worth bringing up in the live stream because the last thing I said in the debrief today, I kind of gave a pretty enthusiastic speech. Yes, you did. Actually, Mary, may I have some water? Thank you.
Can I have some coffee?
Yeah, would you like some more coffee?
No, I'm good with this.
Oh, you're good with that? Okay. Sorry, guys. I have terrible allergies. Went to the ENT about a month ago and found out that I'm allergic to life. Basically, I'm allergic to everything. Thank you. That was exciting. Let's do that again. We have concrete floors. It's fine. Everything's fine. What I discovered was that I'm allergic to everything. That's terrible. But what I shared was the biggest difference, and this is something that most people don't realize, the number one difference between a pro pilot, the Alex Mateoses, the Matt Minyards, the Kyle Mooney's, the best pilots you can think of, people who have flying so ingrained. Like I still consider myself to be an advanced pilot, not an expert pilot in some ways. There's still things that I won't go out and just rip because I can do it. I can do them, but I can't do them by nature, right? Oh. And there's people who can go out and do every maneuver completely by nature. Now, I can launch and land by nature. I can fly around and do barrel rolls and whatever else by nature. But there's a lot of things that I am not an expert at, which is why I still lump myself in this advanced category. But the difference between an expert and a beginner is the knowledge of how much brake they can pull on takeoff without stalling the wing. So as a beginner, if you have a beginner pilot pull brake to their butt cheeks, they're about 2 seconds from stalling the wing on a beginner wing. If they do that on an advanced wing, they're about 0.00002, right? So I fly an expert level wing or unrated wing, and I pull brake to about my navel, and I'm 0.002 seconds away from stall. But I use that, and I know where the stall point is. I can feel it. It's innate. It's completely attached to who I am. It's thousands and thousands, probably over 10,000 or 15,000 launches, 20. I don't know how many. Right? So many launches. I did over 40 yesterday. As I was flying around, 40 launches and landings because it's fun, right? Yeah. So the realization, though, is that beginners release the A's and run into the sky. By the time you get to 10 flights, you use pressure to get in the sky. By the time you get to 25 flights, you'll be in pressure earlier. It's building the basic ground. It's the groundwork to understand when you need to do what you have to do, and it's all about slowing it down. You talked in the debrief this morning about how Chris was talking to you. He's Bob Rossing it up. He's like, I call him Bob Ross meets Captain Picard. But he encourages you to slow it down and to remember that it's inflate, release, control, posture, power, pressure. And that last thing, that pressure element, is everything. Yeah. Now, you can't get to pressure too soon because you stall the wing. You can't get to pressure too much because you stall the wing. But it's the difference between a 60-yard run where you might end up on your face. I'm looking for Todd at Resurgence PPG. We have a great video of him. He didn't pull enough pressure and he lost his balance and he slid, and it happens for all of us. Like, I can't tell you how many students we've had do what we call the dick drag, right? Because they don't use the pressure because when you add pressure, what happens is, for those of you guys on the podcast, I'm sorry, come watch the video at this point right now. When you add pressure, what happens is the wing falls back, which lifts your hang points, which makes you shift. Right? It shifts your entire posture back. It takes the weight of the motor off your back, and it makes your thrust angle hit the ground, which makes you go up.
And you have to. I think what happens is that if you have a procedural mind, you want to get all of those things in order.
Right.
But you throw in vibration, engine noise, loud earmuffs, all your fellow students looking at you, and then this is the moment, right?
Right.
It's like synaptic overload, you know?
So I talked to you about this last night. I think it was you. It may have been Jose. I've never done a tandem skydive. Now, I'm a certified skydiver. I got through my AFF. I never went further because we got pregnant, and I realized the gear I was jumping was $600, and it was probably going to kill me. I realized that after I had a 2,700-foot opening. I opened, and it took 2,700 feet to open, and I'm like pushing it, trying to make it open. But my first...
How terrifying.
For some reason, that wasn't scary. I wasn't scared until after I landed and realized how stupid I'd been. That's generally how I am, though. I don't get adrenaline until after the fact, and I'm like, what have I done? Unless there's a cop behind me. But my very first skydive, I was 18 years old. I was 6 months after breaking my back. I came out to skydive. I couldn't walk for 4 days afterwards. But I came out because I've been around skydivers for 4 years. I basically moved to the airport when I was 14 years old. I didn't sleep out here every night, but I spent all my time here. And they became my family. The skydive family is a lot like the Aviator family,
I bet.
except a lot more drugs and a lot more pretty women. So, so it was very exciting for a 16-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid. But I took my first skydive, and I remember because I had two instructors with me, and I jump out of the airplane on my own, and they grab onto me, and I remember it being in the door of the airplane, the wind's whistling by me, and it's like in, out, away, and I'm like, what? Or out, in, out, away. What? I'm terrible at that part. There's like a movement, and Mary in the back of the room could tell me what it is. What is it? In, out, away, out, in.
I wasn't listening.
Come on, skydiving.
I think it's posture, power, pressure.
In, out, away.
Yeah.
Come on, I can't remember it. Anyway, so I jump out. I did everything they told me to do. I remembered zero.
It does. It vanishes.
I remember the parachute opening, and I remember landing in the piece. Like I hit the target perfectly. It was super sweet. And then all my buddies, because I've known these guys for 4 years, are like, oh my gosh, you failed AFF level 1. You were the worst skydiver ever. And then they played the video and I aced it, right? But I had no recollection.
Yeah.
And they knew I wouldn't because they'd seen so many other students.
Yeah.
If they hadn't done a tandem, they hadn't had that experience to understand what they were going to experience. And that's why with our platform, our training platform, we really put a lot of emphasis on breaking into parts. So like, even though you were overwhelmed because there's so much going on, you already knew what the motor felt like. You already knew what the wing felt like. You already knew what it felt like to leave the ground towing. You already knew what it felt like to land. I mean, I'm going to call you out on it a little bit. You turned off your engine and threw your brakes away at 10 feet.
Okay, we weren't going to talk about that.
And then you still landed perfectly because you had the aptitude from your experience, because we train in such a way that, and we build it in such a way that you have time to do things. You know where things are. You landed beautifully.
I wouldn't call it beautifully.
You terrified me.
I've never. The look on your face. I don't even know how to describe it. I walked away from there and I said, I can't say this without emphasis, but I told one of the trainers, I just scared the shit out of Eric. I knew your face said it all. I was like, but for you to come in that night and say, thank you, everybody. No, I'm not going to say that.
No, I said thank you for everyone for not dying.
Yes.
And that's really the emphasis. And we're doing something superhuman, right? We're doing something we're not meant to do.
But you guys do it so... the safety involved in working with all of the pieces, parts individually, and then having a chance to bring them all together, and then... until 7 people have a consensus that you're ready to fly. I mean, there's just so much built into this that you guys have it going on. So, yeah.
Well, and I have to give full credit. When I started doing this, it wasn't this way. And then I got better at it. I implemented a lot of what I learned in my fixed wing flying. And then I brought Travis in, and Travis completely changed everything. And then we brought John Isley in. John helped so much with our PowerPoints and helping to configure the ground school. And then we brought Chris in. We brought Ron Turan in to help, and then we brought Chris in to take over Ron's job. And then it's just the people. It's all about the people, right?
You've attracted some great people.
Dude, those PowerPoints you saw this week are all new PowerPoints. None of the content's the same. None of the backgrounds are the same. It's all new PowerPoints that no one's seen before.
It's excellent.
Which is so cool because it's constantly evolving. And at the end of your class, you'll send in an anonymous review of the things we can make better. And guess what'll happen next class?
I've been taking notes on that, by the way, too.
Good.
Yeah, I've
Good.
I got a binder for you.
Because
not a binder.
There's always things that we can change. I had a great conversation with Jeff Stang in our last class, and he had points about things, some that I knew about, that I knew we wanted to change. And one of the things he talked about was the fact that he felt like the instructors rotated too quickly through the kiting process. Because we have intern instructors who are trying to learn how to teach, right? And so they're rotating so that they can learn from each other. He said, the students need more time with each instructor so they can feel like they have a bond and they can feel like there's value. And Jeff's an amazing guy, and he's very intelligent. He's an engineering brain as well. And it's like, perfect, done. So this class, you had one instructor for at least an hour each time. Because we want to make sure that you actually are able to understand what they're saying.
Oh, it's working.
Is it? Okay.
It definitely is working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't want to sound like I've got like this. No, there's just refinements. I just noticed little things because being a business owner, I want to make sure that you're maximizing your potential as a business owner. And I go and look if I see something. I just made notes of it. It's nothing big. It's just refinements that can help you guys improve.
So I have a friend who stayed at my house for Sun and Fun. I shot his wedding. He's brilliant. I used to be in a mastermind group with him. He has a company called M0A.com. His name is Jason Shepard. Jason Shepard. And Jason has a tagline at the end of every single email. It says, "A good pilot is always learning."
Yeah.
And I feel like that can apply to humans in general. A good person is always learning, always growing. I will never believe that Aviator is the best training program because tomorrow we're going to learn something new.
That's a pretty good way of putting it. Yeah.
100%.
But you're still going to lead the pack because
we'll try.
Your competitor was yesterday's Aviator. Oh, that's no. We just went into some.
If we get a competitor that's yesterday's Aviator, I'm scared. Because yesterday's Aviator was a baller. They were doing really well. They got 178 flights last class for 6 people in 8 days. They're pretty cool. All right, we're going to go through some questions. I'm going to keep Jeff here with me. Guys, please take a moment to thank Jeff for being on the show. This is his second day of flying. He's a local pilot, so we're going to see a lot of him. I've already heard that you're coming to Oshkosh with us.
Yes.
Yes! Awesome. We've got just some incredible folks that are going to be joining us for a lot of the different shows, and he's got something to show you.
I'm very proud of that.
He got his Aviator first flight coin. He's one of a very select group of people who we're truly honored to share this guys and share a coin with because that's a special daggum thing, isn't it?
It is very special. I had no idea about the tradition, and yeah, I plan on taking advantage of it, even if I leave it at home on purpose one day just so I can get everybody out, buy them some drinks. So.
Well, take some time and read the Wikipedia article on how it came to be because it's actually really incredible. And I'll tell you a story. I won't say the number. I have a buddy named Scooter. All right, his actual name is Scott Yoke. And Scooter, Wayne Boggs, who's the best air boss in the industry. They actually made a TV show called Air Boss. Air bosses run air shows. Wayne Boggs says that he was the sperm that won. All right. He was born to a gentleman who is an incredible mechanic and pilot. And from a very young age, he started restoring a Mustang, a P-51 Mustang.
Oh, that kind of Mustang. And
when his father passed, it was bequeathed to him. And so he flies the Mustang Quicksilver in air shows all over the country. He is the sperm that won. He's my age. He's a bit of a beautiful man. And he flies a freaking P-51. Okay? So, to explain a little bit of history for people who don't know, challenge coins started in World War I, I believe, as a proof that you were part of a select unit. People who had done something special, like the Navy SEALs today, right? They have the trident. They have coins. The trident's pounded into your chest, and you bleed with the trident, right? This is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
We don't make you bleed unless you screw up. But we created a challenge coin for our Aviator pilots because we thought it was really important to have something that symbolized the value that we have in you joining the Aviator family. And quickly, because it was the military, it became a drinking game. And the drinking game is that if you take your coin and slap it on the table or the bar, and everyone else in your unit doesn't have their coin, whoever doesn't have their coin pays the round of drinks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if everyone has their coin, you buy the round of drinks, right? It's a great camaraderie game.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the guys have different rules. Like one of the units, the Scooters, and he flew with the Black Diamonds. They're a group that fly L-39s and MiGs, and they have a 6 feet or 30 seconds rule. You can get your coin, you're good, right? You can't put a hole in it. You can't make a keychain out of it. There's like a whole bunch of different rules.
Okay.
So I'm at ICAS, which is the International Council of Air Shows convention in Las Vegas. This is 2 years ago. I might have had one too many Woodfords.
Double Oaks.
And Scooter coins me. In a bar at the Paris Casino Hotel, which is, they call it the Circle Bar. It's a big circular bar that's surrounded by about 1,000 of my best friends. All air show pilots.
Oh, no.
The Blue Angels are there. The Thunderbirds are there. You name it, every air show act is there. And I've got this. Pull up my wallet. Shake out my coin. And it misses my hand. And goes, ding, ding, ding. So I bought a round for the bar. That hurt.
Oh, no. Wow.
But what you learn is there's value in being part of a family, and the airshow family is very similar to the Aviator family. It's a group of people who all go through similar challenges. The airshow community is very different. It's a community where the loss rate is extraordinarily high because people are pushing the edges and the boundaries. We see a lot of people lose their lives sharing something they love, and we haven't seen that at Aviator, thank God. But we all get to share what we love anyway. Paramotor just happens to be way safer than flying an airplane at 400 knots upside down toward the ground. You know, it's a little different. So still an incredibly humbling opportunity to be part of that family. So.
And just to summarize that, I've spent 4 days, just 4 days, with 5 other fellow students and 7 instructors. And I'm telling you, it's a brotherhood already after 4 days. I don't know how that magical chemistry happens, but it's a brotherhood.
The stuff that's shared in that room this morning at the debriefing is stuff that you people don't normally share.
Yeah.
And it's because it's affected them so deeply to be able to fly.
Exactly. Yes. It affects you on so many different levels, and what I mean is physically, yes, but spiritually and mentally, and there's so much euphoria surrounded with the whole your ability to fly solo for the first time, and then all your guards come off, and everybody freely shares. So,
it's amazing,
and we've become a brotherhood. It's amazing,
and we do this every class, and it blesses my heart. Although this one happened fast, which is really cool.
Yeah,
that's your fault. All right, we're gonna answer some questions because there's a plethora. Matthew Pesci says, is hands up to the pulley typically the right answer for a beginner with a partial or full collapse? Everything depends. Are you flying an A-rated beginner wing that is designed to keep you safe? The answer is generally yes, if that is the case. If you are, so an A-rated wing, you fly behind a 747, wake turbulence, your wing disappears. It's designed to, I believe it's 30 degrees of turn, 100 feet of altitude drop, complete reinflation with 0 pilot intervention. The pilot does nothing, right? B-wing, double that. C-wing, double that. And you have to intervene. D-wing, you have to intervene. There's ratings. You can look at the EN scale of ratings.
It's amazing to watch those videos, the EN videos, how they certify them.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So taking the time to understand... Nope.
Please reintroduce Jeff.
I have been told to reintroduce Jeff. This is Jeff Booth. Jeff is a new student. He learned to fly yesterday. And he has been with us for 4 days. He's been sharing some of his passion, some of his path, and what's brought him here, why he's addicted now, and how it's feeding his soul to do something superhuman.
And it makes me want to do for others so much more. No, I mean, just, yeah.
For once you've tasted flight.
Yes. I have tasted it. I've walked into the sky. I walked into the sunset. That's the amazing thing. That was my first flight. So
100%. That was one of the most beautiful sunsets ever. I should airdrop John a picture so you can post it.
I've got a screensaver image to die for. So.
Hang on, John.
That's
Turn your
the wrong
airdrop on.
verbiage
It's coming to
to
you.
live for.
It's coming to you. I got pictures galore. Oh my gosh, these pictures though. All right. So to answer the question a little bit further, I've got Angelina's. I don't see John's. What we would say on the collapse / partial or full is fly a safe, certified glider that's rated for your experience level. Don't push it. Don't do something crazy. Don't try to fly the cool wing that Tucker's flying. Fly the wing that's going to keep you safe. And quite frankly, kite a lot.
I think one thing I learned, and I've heard it, and you don't understand it until you experience it, and that is you're always thinking about what motor am I going to pick out? Like epoxy dude wants to know what motor to pick out based on his weight. The first thing you should be asking is, first, what school should you go to? But second is the wing. And because if the motor goes out, the wing is what's going to save your life.
Well, the reality is
And
the
the
motor is an accessory. We
That's
fly
a
a
good way to put it.
paraglider.
Yeah.
And we have a motor that pushes in the air instead of a thermal. That's all it is.
So if
The
I tell
motor's
my
an
wife the
accessory.
motor's just an accessory, I'm going to get away with buying a motor pretty easy then.
She's probably going to ask for a tennis bracelet. Yeah. Lots of diamonds. It's just an accessory.
Yes, exactly. My point. Yeah.
No, so it really is true, though. Having the right motor is everything. It's a huge part of what we do. It's a huge part of what we push people toward. But the priority is wing. What wing is right for you? And I tell everybody, you've never seen me fly my free ride.
I've seen you fly, and if that wasn't your free ride, that was too sick. Yeah.
All you've seen me fly is a Mojo Extra Large and a Mojo Large.
Oh my gosh.
That's all you see me fly.
All right. I'm sold.
Excuse me. I tell people that the reality is the Mojo, even though it's a beginner wing and it's boring, it's only as boring as you make it. And it can be way more fun than any other wing you'll ever fly because you know how it will recover if you screw up.
That's the whole, from where I'm standing right now, that's the most important thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. All right. So Spoxy Dude says, what motor is for what weight of pilot? Our general rule of thumb right now is this motor behind me right here, the Atom 80, which is a super lightweight, super powerful, really smooth, and insanely quiet. It feels like you have a sewing machine in your back. Up to about 220 pounds for our students. We've had pilots up to 235 flying it. I'm between 185 and 195 generally, and I've been reaching for that motor more frequently than my Moster 185, unless I'm flying my acro wing, my freestyle wing. So my encouragement would be if you're under 195, that's the motor you buy 100%. Like 100% of the time. Because you're going to fly that for 6 to 12 months. You can take it off. If you have a Parajet Maverick, you take it off the frame, put your Moster 185 on it, swap your hang points over, and now you have more power when you go to a smaller or faster wing. It's so smooth and it doesn't burn gas. Chris Garrison, our school manager, says that this thing actually makes gas. He actually just bought his second one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to the Eclipse. He had the Rider. He went to the Eclipse.
Chris loves it.
He does, and I love it too. I mean, that's all I flew yesterday was the Atom.
No kidding.
I flew Atom on the Maverick, and I flew Atom on the Eclipse. It's enough power for me easily.
And that was my first flight, too, into the sunset.
Yeah, I know you flew Moster. You flew the Moster, your first flight.
No, it was an Atom.
No, it was a Moster.
Okay.
I was there. I pulse started.
I shouldn't be qualified to even tell you what happened during those 7 minutes. Yeah.
I just remember it because I pulse started, and it took 2 pulls, and the Atom never takes 2 pulls.
Okay. All right, you win.
Okay. Toledo Flyboys. Toledo, good to see you, my friend. Got 85 hours on a 25-meter Charger. What should my next wing be other than the Colorado? 85 hours is a great time to start looking towards your next wing. My encouragement to people is this. If you're flying a Charger, the Charger is built by Mac Para. It's a quite outdated design, quite frankly. The Velocity Core from Blackhawk is based on this design. It's a copy of it. At least that's my understanding. The Charger has a few issues I don't like. One, biggest one, it's so hard to launch. It's heavy, and it inflates well initially, and there's a lag point. About 2/3 of the way up, it kind of stops,
Oh, that's the worst part.
and then you have to push. It has great flying characteristics. It's very stable. It has good reflex. It has good speed. There's a lot of positive characteristics of the Charger, but there are things I don't prefer about it. Again, this is just my personal preference. This is not saying that you have a bad wing. However, what you might want to consider at 85 hours is fly it for another 65. Okay? You could go to another B-rated wing and have much easier inflations, better landings, more speed, more stability, less oscillation. But the Charger it's like a Swiss Army knife. It does everything okay. You're not going to use a Swiss Army knife as a chef, right? You're not going to use a Swiss Army knife as a mechanic. It's a great, okay wing. And there's a lot of those wings out there. But my opinion is you choose your mission and you choose the wing that's perfect for it.
That's what I'm hearing, yeah.
Or you get a wing that's okay at everything. The Mojo is excellent at everything except for going fast and turning fast. Right? Now, you can make it turn fast, but you're never going to make it go fast.
Yeah.
The Spider is pretty much excellent at everything. It's still my go-to wing if I want a safe cross-country stable wing. The Sirocco is excellent at everything except for being super safe. There's levels when you're looking at ozone wings. So it's really a question of what you want and what your mission is. So feel free to leave a little more information down below, and I'll get to it about what your mission is. At 85 hours, you have enough hours to start looking toward more advanced wings, but without seeing you fly, I'm never going to recommend that you do. I'm going to say that to go to an advanced wing, you should have 150 hours, okay? And you should fly a lot. You should fly frequently, because just as bad as having too much confidence because you have, like, for instance, when I started flying fixed wing again a few years ago, I had 1,200 hours of flight time, which sounds baller, right? Like, I sound like a great pilot. I got 1,200 hours. I'm 300 hours shy of my ATP. I'm big pimping.
He's baller.
No, I was so sketchy. I was terrifying. I terrified myself every time I got in the airplane. I was like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I need an instructor to tell me what to do. It was so infrequent. I was rusty, right? So you want consistency and you want objective planning. So you don't get in a rush to jump to the next level wing. I still fly the Mojo more than I fly anything else. Okay? So tell me what your mission is, and I'll tell you what I recommend. My highest recommendation is more experience and consistent flying. Don't put yourself in a position where you're unsafe because you're pushing. All right, I'm going to answer like 5 more questions. We're going to bring Mike in. I didn't even realize Mike was in the room. He was so quiet. There's beer over there. He just gave me the 2. Good. What is the oldest, youngest pilots you've trained? Mark Dillner, we've trained an 82-year-old pilot, and we've trained an 11-year-old pilot. The 11-year-old never flew. He didn't have the physical strength to get off the ground, but he's ready. He's now 16, and I've not heard back, but I know he's excited. His dad still flies frequently, so I'd love to get him back here. Right now, our age range is that we will teach up to from 14 years old. We don't have a cap age on that. We are in the midst of developing a reflex test as well as a listening test to be able to help people define how safe they can be. And we've talked about this the last few podcasts. There is a weight and height ratio that makes you a safe pilot, because if you're 5'6" and 400 pounds versus 7'6" and 400 pounds, there's a difference in how safe you're going to be. There's also a reaction time. And it's not because we want to be exclusionary at all. It's because we don't want to put someone in a position where they're dangerous. You had a student in your class today who had his first flight that had several mistakes that were made. And he's going to be a good pilot, I believe, but he's at a much higher risk of breaking equipment than you would be, right? Or hurting himself. Just because the reaction times are slower, because he's a little bit older, and because he's not as physically fit.
I believe that if he had gone to one of these other instructional schools, he probably would have hurt himself. I mean,
it's possible.
I'm just saying, there's so much safety built into what you guys do that I think that's what saved him. I really do.
Well, I'm grateful, and he had 2 great flights, actually 3.
Yeah.
But you know, the reality is there's a bug in your drink. The reality is that there's
bourbon lover.
There's always more to learn, and we're trying to find ways that we can help pre-screen pilots understand what level they can be, and help them understand what they have to work on, because our brain is a muscle, right?
Yes.
In a sense, we have to exercise it. I read a book every night instead of watching TV to fall asleep. I read because reading forces me to be more creative.
This is why he talks so fast, folks.
No, that's just because I'm broken. But no, so we're constantly trying to develop that, though, because every class you learn something new. Like we were talking about earlier, great pilot's always learning. We're constantly trying to develop that stuff, and it's something that grows and grows. James Roberts says, I want to thank Angelina and Mary for helping me with my recent equipment order. They both went above and beyond and couldn't have been better. James, I have to tell you, I'm so excited for you. I know you ordered a Vertigo, and you have had quite the process. I saw the email thread. It was like 50 emails. And, brother, I'm so excited for you. I know you train with one of the Alliance partners, and that you're pushing forward. I'm not sure who you're training with now. I hope you connect with Travis and Kyle. I know that we sent you their information. You have such an opportunity, my friend. You have a unit that's super well balanced and really well put together. The concept of the Vertigo is to create the best possible trike to learn to fly. With your physical challenges and your past experience, all I can encourage you is to link up with the best instructor you can and give it your all. I really am excited for you because you have my favorite trike. You have my very favorite learning trike. I can't wait for you to call us in 6 months and say, I have 100 flights. I'm ready for my Foxy. Because the Foxy is way more fun to fly, but the Vertigo is the perfect trike to learn on. You're going to be so pumped. And thank you so much for the kind words for Nina and for Mary, because for me as a business owner, and I'm sure you can reflect this, like when you hear great words about
exposure.
the team you know, the women in the back of this room right here that you guys can't see, they're the stars of the show. Without them, there's not a daggum thing that happens here, and I truly mean that. For the last 2 years in June, Mary has been my sanity, and for the last 2 months since Nina's joined our team, she has literally kept me from going insane. So
They are great.
I couldn't do it without them, man. I don't know how I live without Nina, and she's been here for 2 months. I told my wife that she's the most important woman in my life aside from her and my daughter Eloise. And John's trying to say that he's awesome too, but no. Just kidding. I love you, John. John actually really is awesome, and he has new toys to play with. Just out of curiosity, for those of you guys watching the stream, tell us what you think of the stream quality, because John's playing with the new Streamlabs play toy. Is it working, John? It's working great. We're getting new transitions and buttons and cool things, and because we sold lights on the last stream, we were able to justify spending more money on the stream.
I love that.
Because so far we've been spending money on something that makes us no money, and that's really hard as a business owner.
Yes.
So if you guys are liking the live stream, we're going to do something funny tonight. If you guys are liking the live stream and you like what we're doing, we've got 2 cameras up now. We're about to buy a 3rd camera. There's how many people are watching live right now? Let's see. We have 135 people watching on Facebook. Okay, so we have a lot of people watching live right now. If 20% of you will go to Aviator or shop.aviatorppg.com and buy a windsock, okay? It's a freaking windsock. It's $30. Everyone needs a windsock, okay? Also, we're working on new Aviator windsock poles. Go buy a windsock.
Hold on. Tell them to go to merchandise and buy the live stream T-shirt. It's very comfy.
Well, I'm going to give you the windsock first. So,
Both.
first and foremost, buy a windsock. If we can get 20 windsocks sold, I'll buy a 2nd camera. And if I get 20 of the live stream T-shirts, it's the Ask Aviator live stream T-shirts. They're on the merchandise page. They're really sweet, except that I don't own one. Thanks, John. Order your stuff. I don't do this as a sales pitch. I do this as a justification for spending another $1,000 because we really need a 3rd camera, and we really need 2 more mics so we can have more guests at once. So please, if you're enjoying the stream, buy a freaking windsock because you need it. It's a great windsock. It hangs down like this, and then it blows out like that. And the really cool part is it has tassels, so you can see 1 mile an hour, 2 mile an hour, 3 mile an hour. And then when it's fully inflated, you have 10 miles an hour. You know it.
So how much are these windsocks?
$30.
Okay, so I'll make a challenge. For every windsock that our viewers buy, I'll buy one and donate it to somebody.
Okay, and I'll give one away too.
Okay.
Boom.
All
Okay,
right.
so we're going to
Done.
have three for one deal on windsocks right now. You buy a windsock, he's going to buy one and give it to Resurgence PPG.
Why don't we do this? If they buy a windsock, then I'll buy a T-shirt and they get the T-shirt with the windsock.
Boom.
All
Okay,
right.
so you buy a windsock, he gives you a T-shirt. You buy a windsock, I buy a windsock for Resurgence.
Oh, Resurgence.
Perfect.
Oh.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
really convoluted.
Yeah.
I'm just competitive enough that I couldn't let you do it by yourself. All right, we have more questions. I'm going to cycle Jeff out. Jeff, thank you for the T-shirts. I love you, brother.
You
So proud to
guys
have
are
you.
awesome, and I love you. You've been amazing. You've rejuvenated my spirit. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Before
But
you leave, I
have-
want to tell your daughter something. Your daughter said that you couldn't be a pussy, right? Was that the line?
No, that was Rob's daughter. Yeah, he has really tough daughters.
I thought
And
it was
then
your daughter who
she
said that you couldn't be a weenie or something.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Suck it up, Buttercup. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say that he hasn't been a buttercup today. You flew, you overcame, and I'm proud of you.
I flew, and I'm going to keep flying, and I'm going to keep flying with you guys because there's a culture and a camaraderie here that I immediately embrace. I love it. So
Fantastic.
yeah. So
All right.
I'm going to do something. Peace.
All right, Michael. All right, guys, we have a ton of questions coming in. Jordan Weinberger says, what size wings should I learn to kite 150 pounds in my birthday suit? Jordan, I'm going to recommend the Mojo Small to you. Mojo Power Small. We have a bunch of them on order right now. Email us or call us, info@aviatorppg.com. We can get one on order for you. Guys, this is a special moment for me.
Hi, Eric.
Hi. You're going to have to turn the gain up on him because he's quiet. He's so
Promise
meek.
not to scream.
I don't promise not to scream. You're so beautiful.
Thanks, brother.
So, I want to answer more questions before
Let's
I
do
fully
it.
introduce you.
Let's bring it.
But your name's Mike.
Mike Brown.
Mike Brown. Mike Brown is built like a Greek god. He just retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force.
Yes.
You have been flying paramotors since
2003, if you can believe that.
Methuselah. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right.
Since before the internet.
Before time.
Right.
And Mike has been a friend for a few years,
Yep.
and quite frankly, an inspiration for me because you started before this. Now we're getting the intro. Screw it. You started before this was common. You started before this was normal. You started before this was easy. You started before there was community, and helped develop it.
Right.
And now you're here teaching with us.
Right. Before equipment was really light, which is the whole reason why I'm still in shape, because I'm still flying around in that heavy equipment.
So we made a video that hasn't been posted yet about the new Foxy trike. And in the background, there's a Fly Gold 130 from Fly Products. And I actually caught some heat from a guy recently on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're talking about Fly Products, and,
Yeah.
and he says, you talked so much crap about them to me 3 years ago. And he was looking at buying a Fly Gold. And we've made up, and I apologize because I wasn't trying to talk crap about anything. I just felt like it was really old equipment and really heavy. And now in the last 3 years, they've come out with the Rider. They've got all this new like Eclipse. They've come up with the times, right?
Right. Yeah.
You're still flying a Fly Gold 130.
I am. I know.
How do you like it?
It's a testament to the equipment of the day that continues to operate even now, just like it did back when I bought it brand spanking new.
Well, that was a
I love
780
it.
engine. That thing, 780s they're heavy as
They
heck.
are. They are.
But in my opinion, if you're going to buy a motor, like if I wanted to fly from here to England,
Yeah. Yeah. Underwater. Still works. These things are amazing.
no, really, like 780, they started off as a manufacturer for scooter motors, right?
That's right. Go-karts.
Go-karts.
Yeah.
They're ridiculously heavy compared to this,
They are crazily heavy.
right?
Yeah.
But they're so reliable.
They
I
are.
had, I think, 6 Instinct 230s in the space of a year,
Yeah.
2 years. You know how many engine outs I had for my Instinct?
Let me put up a finger.
Yep,
There we
0.
go. Okay.
So I had a student who is one of those people who's very non-mechanical, and he hadn't flown in like 6 months.
Yeah.
And he started coming out and flying again. And he came out and flew a couple days. He was flying an Instinct 230 with a beautiful Simonini 230 engine. Bless this guy's heart. He's flying around, engine out.
Bad day.
Hear the engine quit. He's about a mile south of the airport. It's a swamp. You've been out there, you know.
Yeah, I know that swamp.
We go out and get him. And we're carrying the motor back, carrying the trike back, carrying the wing back. He's fine. He's like, what happened? What happened? Why'd it quit?
Yeah.
We look at the fuel tank and it's blue. We said, well, what fuel are you running? He goes, avgas. Okay. All right, that's fine for that motor.
Yeah.
What oil are you running?
Yeah.
Well, I haven't changed the oil.
There's always that guy out there.
He flew it almost 10 hours with no oil in it.
That's crazy.
And it
That's
still
crazy.
flew.
Yeah. Yeah, there used to be an oil you used to put in a motor. I can't remember, like Slick 50. Remember that?
Yes, the slick
You put
oils.
Slick 50
I used
in
to
your
put
order.
that in my dirt bike.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he did. He put a little Slick 50 in
No,
there.
no.
After
He didn't put any oil in it.
That's crazy.
And his flights were short enough because he'd take off, fly around the pattern and land that it never overheated.
Yeah.
And eventually, of course, he melted down the piston in the cylinder because he didn't have any freaking oil in a two-stroke engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's how reliable they are. And then, mind you, my Instinct 230 full fuel reserve was 105 pounds. It's
Yeah.
a heavy unit.
It is.
It's encumbrances. And
Right.
like, especially as a school owner now, for you as an instructor, the difference between heavy unit and light unit is that half the flights we had this morning would have resulted in damaged gear. And instead, nothing was broken.
It's amazing. I couldn't imagine what things would have been like in that kind of condition, treated like that, with those students that hit the ground pretty hard. Most of that stuff would have crumbled.
Yeah,
and
they're
crushed.
pulling their feet up early. They're
It's-
dragging the cage across the ground.
It's
and-
a testament to how great and strong
Yeah.
all that stuff is today.
Well, let me jump into some questions because it's important, and then let's go from there. I'm going to
Okay.
answer like 10 questions as fast as I can. Starting with Emilio. Eric, if you take great care of your wing, how many hours of flight will it take to realize problems with inflation, and what will be the signs? Okay, so let me run you through two different, very polarizing concepts. So a lot of it is the equipment's value. What equipment you're flying. So, for instance, I flew a wing that had about 270 hours on it, took it in for inspection, and the lines were 5 centimeters out on one side. They were 5 centimeters extended. They were stretched. We had a wing which we sent for inspection because we anticipated it would not pass. It was a lightweight wing, one of the Sirocco ones. Had about 390 hours on it. We're like, listen, it's lightweight fabric. It's not going to pass. Every line was in trim. The fabric passed with perfect porosity, no issues whatsoever. I think that a huge percentage of what you put into it is what gear you buy. So, like, I can't speak for the manufacturers. I've sold Dudek, I've sold Blackhawk, and I've sold Little Mac Para and a lot of Ozone. Ozone gliders last. So far in our experience, if you're not dragging them across sand or concrete, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah.
We sent Kyle's free ride in for inspection. Kyle, if you're watching this, I'm going to tell the whole story. His wing had been left outside overnight at Owensboro Air Show. Still salty, Kyle. It had been flown at least 300 hours of hard acro. I mean, every flight he does, all he does is climb, acro, climb, acro. That is Kyle's flying style. And he's not pulling 2, 3 Gs. He's pulling 6 Gs. He's doing everything he possibly can to throw that wing like crazy. Not one flaw.
It's crazy.
After over 300 hours, I think 16 months that he had it. We were shocked by that. Quite frankly, I expected it to fail. He's still flying the exact same wing 6 months later.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it really is a question of how much UV ray time it gets. If you are leaving it in the sun a lot, you're going to have many more issues. Like, my wing has never been in the sun aside from when I've launched it, when I've flown it, when I've landed it, and back in the bag. I truly believe that if there was someone in the market for a free ride 16, I could sell it for $300 off what I paid for it in October of 2017.
I remember back when we first got started, we'd fly out in the Everglades, and we flew so much that, and we really took good care of our wings. But honestly, as soon as we landed, we put them right back in a bag. But those things, over time, they would fade. That's how much flying we had. But I think now some of the UV protection that they have on these wings is far superior than what it used to be.
It really has. And
Yeah.
you've been flying for almost 20 years.
I don't even have enough fingers to figure that out, but it's back in 2003, I think.
So 16 years.
Right.
And what's been really incredible is the progression of technology. So I've been in the sport for over 7 years now.
It is great to see that.
And when I got in the sport was when the mini plane became popular. And I was like, oh my gosh, it doesn't weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? And then the progressions continued. And it's not just motors. Motors progress slowly. Wing design, in my first 5 years in the sport, had 3 full progressions. Reflex came of age.
Yeah.
Nose rib battens, having battens in the nose that held the nose open and solid instead of being the flexible mylar.
Yeah.
Talk about an inflation ease.
Right.
Like, have you flown the new Spider?
I have. And it's amazing. I just flew it yesterday. It was unbelievable.
Okay, good. So
Yeah.
that with the
Spider
lightweight
3.
fabric and the mylar, and then the non-mylar, but battens in the nose.
Yeah.
It's literally effortless. And I've told this story multiple times to the students this week. Is like my first flight was 26 inflation attempts, 1 flight. My first 3 months was probably 6 to 1, right? 6 attempts, 1 flight. I failed 3 launches in the last 18 months probably.
Yeah.
And 2 of them were in a row.
That's crazy.
And it was terrible.
I can't believe that.
No, it was really bad. It was really, really bad. So it was for paradigm practice, ironically enough, because, of course, when people are all watching you and
That's
counting
right.
on you.
It's the only time it happens, when there's a million eyeballs on you.
100%. All right, let's
Yeah.
answer some more questions. Suddenlyfashion.com says, Eric, do you guys sell used equipment, hoping to leave training with a setup? Yes, we do. Actually, so this is important information for anyone who's looking into training with us. We sell every piece of used gear that we use in our school. We rotate every wing. Our goal is to never have a wing for more than 3 months. Our goal is never have a motor for more than 3 months. We oftentimes sell wings the same week they're open, same motor the week they're opened. You're not going to save a ton of money on that gear. If you want cheap used gear, we do have some new stuff coming available. And in fact, if somebody wants it, it's not been advertised yet, but we have Jacqueline Zeiss, Tucker Gott's girlfriend. We have her 130 fully, freshly rebuilt on a titanium frame from Air Conception, ready to sell. Livestream price. I'm gonna sell it for $4,250 if I post it tomorrow. If it sells tonight, I'll sell it for $3,800. Titanium frame,
It's a great price.
pretty baller.
Because that titanium is amazing stuff.
It
The
is.
Titan
And this-
titanium, Russian
This one's
titanium's
brand new top end
amazing
because
stuff.
it's seized.
Yeah. It's so easy to, and if you bend it, it comes right back
Exactly.
to shape. It's just the stuff to have now.
Absolutely.
But, so Bill, there have been quite a few guys that have been your size with ease. We bring up for tandem pilots, obviously, there's a wing your size.
Which one's
and-
Bill? Oh, there he is, Bill Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay, is 6'6", 260 okay to fly? Gosh, dude.
Right.
If you got a little more muscular, you'd be right there.
Yeah, well, 6'6", that's a piece of cake. It's only a couple inches more than me, and just a couple extra pounds, so it looks like he's got a good chance.
No, he'd be awesome. Honestly,
Yeah.
Bill, being 260 is going to be against you. I would encourage you, if you can, try to cut down some pounds. I love the keto diet. What do you do for diet, Mike?
For diet,
'Cause you're
I eat as many
huge.
donuts as I can.
I hate you.
Because paragliding takes it all up. You really are the one who's the slave master out there getting the instructors into shape. So, I have to eat as much as I can. I don't look like your pretty dog there.
I don't know, man.
He's in better shape than I am.
If he took his shirt off, the Greek gods would sing.
Oh,
Just
man.
say.
Wish you could tell all the ladies that.
You've already
Pass the
destroyed
word.
Tinder in this area. I've heard stories.
Crazy.
So,
That's Ross.
At 6'6", 260, honestly, it's a question of your endurance level and how physically active you are. We had a guy, 380 pounds, 6'8",
Yeah.
come through last year. He crushed it. He had some challenges. He was flying really big wings. You're going to spend more money because you're buying more fabric.
Sure.
You're buying more CCs in the engine, but it's totally doable.
Absolutely.
I wonder if I could trade my 15-hour Mojo Small for a medium straight up. Sudden Fashion, you're welcome to post it in one of the pages. You might be able to find someone who's willing to. We would be certainly happy if you have an Ozone product, Ozone Fly products, or Parajet. We will take a trade-in at any time. We have the buyback program. We're always happy to serve you. So
Thanks, Mark Milner.
he
He bought a T-shirt.
Mark, thanks for buying a T-shirt.
Nice
you rock.
job.
See these guys. They're like the perfect podcast hosts. You guys get it.
They're awesome.
I can't hear what's happening behind the camera. Sorry, guys. I missed it. Text me if you want me to get through. Let's see.
And Jeff is awesome.
Ozzy Horn. Okay, so you've been flying for 16 years. Mike, do you
Yes.
ever get nervous when you fly?
Every time.
What's it feel like and why?
So, the fun part about it is that you have the experience, you have a routine. You know exactly what you're going to do. You know exactly how the run is. You know exactly the setup. You know the winds and all of that stuff. But every single time, there's always an element that you're not expecting that may just come and creep up on you. And that's part of the experience. There's a little bit of challenge in everything you do. To nail it is perfection, and if you think you've nailed it and you're perfect, then you have a bit of a problem because you're always learning.
Yeah.
And to have that little tad of fear is great. I'm very
Makes you feel alive.
It does, and to have a little bit of superstition. I am very superstitious. I only wear a certain type of shirt when I fly. I only wear a certain type of shoes. It's just, there's always something that could creep up and bite you in the neck. So is there a little bit of a nerve? Yeah, it's always that unknown. But for the most part, I think I've got everything down.
I would hope so by now.
It's just hopefully that I've got the luck too, because that's something you just don't have that you have to try to bring in.
I have two lines. One line that I say over and over in school, and I have for years since 2002, teaching people how to fly fixed-wing ultralights. I've said that there's no room for hope in aviation.
That's right. Hope's not a plan.
But without hope, there's no aviation.
This is true.
All right. So we have to believe in ourselves. We have to hope that it works properly. We have to be careful and cautious and wise.
Yeah.
I consider the moment when I clip in, from clip in to getting my brakes on my A's, standing, checking my center point, taking 2 steps back, I close my eyes, or I look at the ground so no one can see me. I take 2 deep breaths, and it's just like this. It's like, and it's complete meditation.
Yeah.
It's complete isolation. Inflate, release, posture, power, pressure. And when there's no wind, and I'm 195 pounds launched on a free ride 16, and I'm thinking through every moment, every movement, every feeling, and I watch the wingtip come up. I don't hope that it comes up straight. I watch it. I check the other wingtip. I double check everything, and I come off the ground. I think that part of the reason why I value flying paramotor so much, whether it's trike or foot launch, is the moment your feet leave the ground or your wheels leave the ground, the incredible sense of relief you have and the accomplishment you have. That moment where you realize that you did it. Because every time is like, well, it's most likely not going to work. I mean, I may have worked the last 400 times, but it may not work today, you know? It is the most powerful drug. It's an intoxicant. It's more important than what's in your cup, right? It gives you the most supreme confidence, and then you have to counter the confidence with humility so you don't hurt yourself, right? But God, it feels good every time.
Every time. There's not a time that it doesn't. And, there's something to be said about, slipping the surly bonds of earth and danced upon laughter's silvered wings. And it really makes it hits hard. And that's very profound, Eric. Absolutely. It is.
And I think that's part of the way for me flying so valuable is because it takes my mind that feels very frantic all the time because there's so many things, so many people I have to serve, so many people that I have to love and take care of because I truly do. My wife, my children, my staff, my students, there's so many people to serve. But that moment that I clip in, you can't think about anything else.
There's a movie out, I can't remember the name of it. It was a baseball movie with Kevin Costner. He was a pitcher. He'd be on the mound and he's about ready to throw a ball. And he would say to himself, clear the mechanism, and all the noise around in the stands would be quiet, and it was just him and the ball. And it's a great movie. It's exactly how I feel every single time.
Somebody tell me what the movie is, because you tell me Kevin Costner and baseball, and I'm just like Field of Dreams, bro.
It wasn't. It was. What was the name of that movie?
It was Field of Dreams? It was, okay.
Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, so...
Yeah. Build it and they will come. I love that. And that's what we did with Aviator. That was the whole point, was build it and they'll come. We wanted to build a family of people who put students ahead of sales.
Yeah.
And I feel like we finally hit the point last year where people came. Because I'm here to tell you, when people hear what we actually make and they're like, why do you do this? My buddy Jeff the other day was like, why do you do this? You're working 16 hours a day for that pay? And I was like, well, if you could see the look on Jeff Booth's face and the look on 4 or 5 of the students this morning who are sharing their deepest hurts and their joys and how they're overcoming them through flight, I'm here to tell you, it's worth every penny.
You're absolutely right. I'll tell you, the reason why I came up here was so that I could meet the Don King of paragliding and the ladies of this great organization, Aviator. This is true. But actually...
Don't talk about John like that.
But there's one other thing that I'm up here for a reason, and the reason absolutely is that there's a lot to be said for giving back, but there's a lot to be said for learning how to give back. And I didn't think I knew how to do that. I wanted to come up here and see what it was like to learn from you, Eric, actually, as a good instructor, not just a good instructor, a gifted individual, was somebody who was able to bring somebody in who has never been able to fly before, who may or may not have ever done that, or couldn't.
Right.
Absolutely, from another instructor, but you can will that individual in the air. Whether it be gusto or just your voice, it was pretty amazing. Even today, when we saw Rob, fly to the air, here's an individual who may or may not have been, physically ready for this.
My favorite part was his intro class. He's like, I can't listen to people. I was like, oh God, why?
Yeah, not good, right? But he gutted himself into the air. He willed himself into the air with your voice. And it was very impressive to watch that.
Honestly, I can't take any credit for it. It's your help on the simulator and the leanbacks. It's each of you guys, because it's not one. Whoever gets to talk to someone in the air gets to take credit in some ways. Yeah. But the reality is the systems.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit. I appreciate the compliment. Yep. I don't want to deflect it completely.
My pleasure.
I'm
That's
very
no
honored.
worries. Yep.
I'm very honored. You were friends with Travis.
Yeah, I met Travis back on Vista View Park off of Griffin Road 75 a long time ago while he was still a coastie.
So he introduced me to you 4 years ago?
Yes.
And he has said since he joined the company, he's like, we've got to hire Mike.
Yeah.
And you weren't interested because there weren't enough pretty girls in Lake Wales.
No, that's not true. Okay, a little bit, but no.
I'll address what you said again really quickly. I think we talk a lot about superpowers. We ask the students in the intro class who they are, what brought them here, what they do for a living, and what their superpower is. Because everyone has something in ourselves that we feel like is something that we're special at.
Absolutely.
What was your superpower that you shared?
Well, my superpower is that I can make the worst judgment calls in the world, and I have the worst judgment, but I'm able to execute them eloquently and still survive.
And my superpower is that I can feel others' pain. And I can see their struggle, and I can find true empathy because I can feel what they feel.
Yeah.
And it's a really woo-woo thing to say, but it's something that I grew up with. I grew up in a ministry. I grew up in a family of my dad called it a business tree. We're trying to make a living while helping people.
That's good.
And my grandparents had a restaurant, so it was basically trying to satisfy really rich people.
Yeah.
So I was put in that position, and I think that's a big part of why all the instructors, yourself included, if a student were to make a mistake, we'd be shattered because we feel their pain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We feel their struggle.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yeah. And I think it's really important and really empowering for people who come to Aviator to understand that every instructor, we've all struggled way more than they ever will.
Yeah.
And it's funny because all the instructors every week, they're like, you're not allowed to apologize for sucking because everyone sucks.
That's right. We say that.
But what I wanted to ask you about, now I'm deferring because I don't want to talk about myself anymore.
Okay, I'll bring it back, but that's okay. It's coming back.
Tell me your story. So I know Travis's story. He's driving down 75. He sees this guy flying along. He's like, what the heck is that? I want to do that. And he's a Coast Guard pilot.
Yeah.
You're in the Air Force.
Yeah. He probably saw us.
What
group there.
What brought you to this sport?
I know, it's crazy. I joined the service to get into aviation. It was a lot of fun. I was self-loading luggage on board an aircraft called the AWACS, the E3, stationed out of Tinker Air Force Base. And I had the opportunity to come back here to Miami to work to watch and allow my daughter to get raised, to raise my daughter. Now? She's 26.
Nice.
Yeah. But she was able to go through the school.
Greek god like you?
She's a pretty lady. She really is. She's a good girl.
Guys,
really.
Is she single or married?
She's single. Good luck, guys.
If you're interested, contact Mike Brown. He's not on Facebook. He has a BlackBerry. Just contact him.
That's
somehow.
right. If you can reach my BlackBerry, good luck. And better luck for you to try to date my daughter. She's impossible to date. She's driven. She wants to be a millionaire.
Like
she just wants to make success, and that's her big thing. She's just like you, Eric. She's totally driven.
I don't just want success. I want to go have fun.
She is. She's a good kid. But I just wanted to get the opportunity to get back into flying, and I did put that back in my mind as I was continuing to work and make my way to retirement. And one guy, he was a F4 backender. He was a good guy. He worked to watch with me as a battle watch captain, and we were talking, and he said, "Hey, Mike, let's buy a power paraglider together. And I'm like, man, it's 3 a.m. What are you talking about? It's like on eBay. And I said, what is eBay? You know, it's on the internet. And he's like, what's the internet? You know, right? And he said, there's this used thing called a power paraglider. Let's take a look at it. And I looked online, and sure enough, there was a group down south who was selling this stuff. And I hit up the instructor, Larry Littlefield, who's rest in peace. He's not with us any longer, but he did it right. He died in a Pacer.
Nice.
Was
it a ground loop?
No, he actually was on approach end out of Andros Island, and it went in.
Oh wow,
yeah.
That's too bad.
But he was a long time pilot in the commercial aviation industry.
Pain to fly. Man.
Yeah,
that's a short coupled airplane.
Something happened to the airplane, and he went in. But Larry Hurricane Littlefield, he's a good guy. We all used to say we're all Larry's children because he only had 3 things to say, and that's that: step left, pull left. Oh, too late, and that was all we got out of him. That was it. But and for all you guys who were Larry Littlefield's kids, I'm sure they're all laughing in the background now. But my F4 back end friend decided to bail out, and I kept on going. And for what it was worth, there were 4 or 5 of us who got into the sport with us. We got together. We started an organization called the Power Paragators, and we just kept on going from there. And the club kind of disbanded slightly because things just I had to move on to another location. Some of the folks moved on, but we still were able to keep the grounds, keep the area of which we fly, and it's expanded since then. So we're doing great work out there, and
That's
I've been
awesome.
flying ever since. I've flown everywhere I go.
Were you part of the Parastars early on?
I did. We in 2006 and 2007, not necessarily part of the Parastars. So they gave up the fly-in work that we were doing out at Kermit Weeks's place, and we took it over for 2 years with Scott Adair, who actually also passed away in a trike, a Delta trike.
Scott
He was a
great
guy. Oh man,
he was flying a gyrocopter.
He was, yeah.
You know my grandfather's sister, the gyrocopter?
No.
So I recently shared this on a video. My grandfather, God rest his soul,
Yeah.
World War II fighter ace, great guy. He was a heck of a pilot.
Yeah.
And he is the first, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records, I think in 92 or 88, for doing the first barrel roll and first loop in a gyrocopter. He crashed it 12 times, totaled it 6 times, got stuck 20 feet underwater with 1 lung from cancer, unable to get his seatbelt off. And we would go to Son of Fun together, and he would tell me that, like, look over at Paradise City at the ultralights, he'd be like,
Yeah.
those things are death traps, they'll kill you, son. Right? But that's how Scott died, was the gyrocopter. And the last wishes he had were that none of his kids would fly this gyrocopter. So they haven't. It's been donated to the Son of Fun Museum. And what's funny is that he never made us grandchildren promise. So maybe I'll get to fly a gyrocopter someday. I've flown one once, and it was incredible. And I had the best time ever because Pavel from Nirvana, they build components for Autogyro in Germany. And first, let me just say this. Pavel is probably the most consummate pilot I've ever met. Like, you want to talk about the expert pilot who just everything's natural?
Yeah.
The
Like
dude
beyond that, huh?
gets it.
Wow.
He flies like 600 hours a year in his gyro and another 600 hours a year in a paramotor. And he's the CEO of a big company, like 40 employees. Like, I'm so jealous. I am working really hard toward this, and Nina is trying to save my life and encourage me. She's like, will you please take a vacation this year and do something fun? By the way, she's trying to get me to take Chris, and I feel like you should probably come too.
Okay,
cool.
sounds like fun.
June 10th.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, so you got into paramotors.
Yes, I did.
You spent how many years in the military?
30 years.
30 years in the military.
30 years.
You retired when?
I retired in 2016, February,
Okay.
of which I bought a fifth wheel and cruised around the nation paragliding. It's a lot of fun to see it on land, but it's a heck of a lot more fun to see it airborne in a paraglider.
It certainly is.
Yeah, it just fits on the back of your trailer and you just cruise around with it.
So when I was 19, I went from Tennessee to Pennsylvania to Florida to Alaska to San Diego and back.
Wow. That's
On a
quite
motorcycle.
That's a trek.
It was a trek. It was 42,000 miles in total over a period of about 4 months.
And that's cray-cray.
On a motorcycle, I totaled 2 bikes. I broke 13 bones.
That's commitment. Committing the body right there, Eric.
But what I realized, I went through 6 sets of tires and 4 sets of knee pucks. My realization was that I wanted to do it with a paramotor. As soon as I started flying a paramotor, I was like, I have to go back to Alaska. I have to fly the Alcan Highway.
Yeah, good call. Take me with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have to get our Canadian pilot's licenses. That might be weird.
Yeah, that would be odd.
Actually, our U.S. pilot licenses might work if we N-number our paramotors. We have to look into that.
Okay.
But
Can we just sneak in and don't let them?
I mean, they'll build the wall. You never know. They might build the wall.
Could happen.
But I will say, one of the most incredible experiences of my life, because it allowed me to experience the climate change. When you drive past a lake and you can smell the water, when you drive through a herd of bison. So let me tell this story.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
This is a long podcast. We're going with it.
I couldn't imagine seeing that like at a Yellowstone. That would be an epic.
So
epoch, as a few of my friends say.
Epoch. We're going through. I believe it was just past, maybe 4 or 5 hours past. What's the '90s show?
I know the '70s show. That '70s show.
There's a '90s TV show called. Dadgummit, Nina, you should know this. Had a beautiful boy as the lead character. Dawson's Creek. There you go. Dawson's Creek. We're like 2-3 hours past Dawson's Creek, and we see this woman running, and she's running, towing a trailer behind her, with like a covered wagon-looking thing, with a website address on the side. And this is like early internet too. She was running around the world. She ran through Siberia. She came from, I think, Ireland or somewhere. She ran through Siberia. She ran across the entirety of Alaska. Now she's running through Canada. She's going around the world.
Like the female Forrest Gump.
Like the female Forrest Gump.
She's
right.
on.
Yeah, she was awesome. So we see her and we're like, and we watch her in slow motion, right? We stopped. We're like, because it's the first person we've seen in like 4 hours, right?
Yeah.
We're like, what the heck is happening? And then we go over the next hill, literally the next hill. And now I'm on a 170 horsepower motorcycle. Okay?
Well, if
it was
you
a
can only get that on a
141,
paraglider.
141 stock, built out, 170 horsepower motorcycle.
Yeah.
1,000 cc. And we come over the next hill, and suddenly I'm terrified. Because bison are really big, and when there's 400 or 500 of them
Yikes.
across the road, they're bigger than a Chevy Silverado,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They weigh 6,000 pounds, and they have tusks.
Yeah, they got something like that, don't they?
Whatever you want to call it, they have
They have
things
the
that stick
horns.
out of their head that
Yeah.
can stab you, like the tunka, right? It was scary.
Another Kevin Costner.
Another Kevin Costner.
well
Kevin
done.
Costner's on it, and so like we're weaving our way through these bison, and I had the most outrageously loud exhaust pipe on my motorcycle, and I'm just like, I'm gonna die first, because my best friend was with me at the time.
Oh, man.
And he got engaged 6 days before this, and he's like, I have to get married. I'm going to die. Like, this is going to be really bad. And so we weaved through all these guys, and we realized, like, we're terrified. And this woman just ran through this herd of bison. And so we felt like we had very small things. And
A connection of some kind.
she's a baller. I wish I knew her website address, because that was incredible.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of courage.
Yeah, a lot of courage.
I
So
think
if
she
you
should be a power paraglider pilot.
She probably is, actually. It's
Yeah.
probably Leah Catullo now. She probably is. If you guys want to see that story, bowtietour.com. You can see some really old blog posts and pictures of Eric with more hair. Yeah. All right, let's answer some more questions.
All right,
Let's see. Jeanette Gauthier, question for later. What would be the weakest thing on the Motor 185? The entire exhaust has been the bane of all Motor 185. Suppose the 2019 models have made better exhaust systems since they are single cast rather than two joined pieces.
Yeah.
That you're right. My belief with the Moster is that there are two weak links. The first weak link is true of every paramotor, every single one, and that's the starter. The starters are always the weak links.
Yeah.
And they fail. My early Mosters, I had early Mosters on Scouts. I had early Mosters on a couple different units. I had a Scout that lasted, I had 2 starters in 3 hours.
Wow.
So I was on my third starter at my 3.2 hour mark, and I was really annoyed with it on my Scout.
Not good.
starters go bad. It's a high tension unit that's designed to be as lightweight as possible, so it's just a poor idea. We haven't had as many issues. We sold around 80 or 100 Mosters so far. I don't know the exact numbers. Nita would know.
I think Vito's getting it right with those.
They're starting to dial it in.
Yeah.
So the starter's getting better. We've had 2 electric start replacements in the last 4 months or 5 months.
Yeah.
One went to Glenn, one went to Alex. So that's not bad odds on the electric start. It's actually way better than we had with our previous brands.
Yep.
The muffler is 100% the Achilles heel. It really is. Going to a single cast has helped a ton. We're going to put a video out probably on Friday. I'm going to film it tomorrow that talks about what you can do to retain your muffler, even with the 4-spring. So we have had 16 or 17 units in-house. I would estimate probably 800 to 1,000 hours total between the units. 0 muffler issues. 0. Not one muffler issue on a 4-spring exhaust. Not one. And I truly attest this to Justin Fox. Justin,
Good for him.
first off, great guy. Great instructor. Great builder. He's never had a muffler fail on a Moster ever.
Wow, that's impressive.
For
now,
years.
Is he still continuing to maintain, the bearing, etc.?
So you have to replace the
copper
the
ring.
copper ring.
Yeah.
At 50 hours or whatever it is. The most important thing
Yeah.
that Justin says is how long you warm it up for.
Interesting.
That's why you see me put the motor on my back,
Yeah.
carry my wing out. I start it, carry my wing out, lay my wing out. Then I warm it up. 3 minutes at idle allows that muffler to heat properly so you don't get flash heating. Because flash heating is as bad as flash cooling, right?
That's right.
So we have flash heating
Yeah.
and then flash cooling because you climb, wah, and then you come off. And now you have flash cooling, and flash cooling creates cracks because it's contracting
Yeah.
or expanding, right? So the concept is give it time, take a 3-minute idle, and it helps a lot.
Yeah.
More questions. How is the Ozone Kona for a beginner wing? Michael, Miner 81. Michael, the Ozone Kona is an amazing first wing for a beginner. If you're coming out of training with your A wing, go to a B wing, and you want to fly an incredible glider, especially for someone who wants to do both free flight and motoring, the Kona is your best choice. The Kona is based off the Buzz Z5. The Buzz Z5, I've free flown it. I've been towed up. I've flown it in thermals and in ridge lift. It's fantastic. It does oscillate a bit if you are on motor because you have more weight. But it is a phenomenally efficient wing. I remember my first time coming into land, I was at Palm Bay. We were doing towing for the original Kona video.
Yeah.
We had Amelia, we had Carl, we had the whole Ozone crew out. We're like filming this Kona video. And we had our tow machine out. We were towing people up, payout towing. And I got towed up, and it was like, sweet. I've never been towed up before. This is really cool. And I got my tow tech rating after that. And I was all jazzed. Like, I'm flying a beginner wing or an intermediate wing. I'm gonna crush this. So I'm like doing big wing overs and sats, and like everything's cool. Also, it sats really nicely. And then I came into land, and I landed like 400 yards past my point because it wouldn't stop flying.
That's good technique right there.
So good, so humbling. So yeah, Kona, if you want to do free flight and motor, it's the wing to go for. Otherwise, buy a Spider. If you're motor focus, the Spider's the choice.
You guys brought that down to Costa Rica, right?
Yes, I've flown in Costa Rica quite a bit.
Yeah.
Really
You took the
exceptional.
Konya with you, right?
It's a great wing.
Ross said he flew it.
Yeah,
while
he
was there.
brought his own down there.
Yeah.
He actually bought a Kona to take down there
Yeah.
before he ever worked here. And Ross is one of my favorite people. I'm
Yeah,
so glad he works here now.
Yeah, you're fortunate to have Ross. He's a
I'm
good
fortunate to
guy.
have all of
He's
you
a great
guys.
turd.
I'd go
Yeah.
insane without you.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I really would. All right, Bob Garber. Question: cash strapped pilot, POS kiting only, extra small mojo. Been using your kiting video like a religion. Recommendation for the next step until I can afford training. Bob. All right, so let me clear my throat and prepare myself. Also, guys, it's been an hour and 36 minutes, and these are all exceptional questions with great interaction. Thank you all very much. It's probably been longer than that. Let's see. I don't even know how long. An hour and 44 minutes. Thank you. Jeff was a phenomenal guest. And now we got Mike. Thank you, Mike.
My pleasure.
Mike said that he sucked being on camera and he
I do.
clams up and he's terrible. Can we get some comments in the chat that talk about what Mike's actually like? Because I think he's rocking the shit out of this.
I'm not quite as good as Jonathan Doe, who was on Dawson's Creek, but
You remember his name?
apparently there he is right there. He said he is.
I'm impressed.
There it is right there.
Jonathan, you were on Dawson's Creek.
Apparently.
Impressive, sir.
Yeah.
I have a really funny story about Dawson's Creek. All right, let me go back to that. What were we talking about? Dadgummit. We were talking about Kona. Cash strap pilot. My biggest encouragement is this. Get a side hustle. Get a side gig. I would encourage you, please, and this sounds really silly, this gentleman who I really revere and respect because he believes in hard work and he pushes himself. His name's Gary Vaynerchuk. You can find him at Gary V on every single social media. You go buy his book. It's dirt cheap. Get the audio book. He has like 20 of them. I don't care which one you get. His podcast is free. Gary respects hard work. If you guys respect Tucker Gott, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, Tucker's so cool, but he lives with his mom and he doesn't have any bills. I'm sorry, guys, but that's BS, okay? Tucker saw a paramotor flying down the beach when he was 14, and he didn't go, oh, that's cool, I want to do that someday. I hope somebody does it for me. He said, F that.
Yeah.
He said, no. He said, I'm going to go, and I'm going to go get a job after school. I'm going to pack parachutes and edit video at a skydive center. And I'm going to save every penny I make until I can afford to buy a paramotor. And then when he was 18 years old, he came to Lake Wales, Florida, and he learned to fly a freaking paramotor. And he went home and he had a paramotor. And 6 months later, he saved enough money for his second wing.
Yeah.
And 6 months after that, he was ready to fly cross countries. And it's not at all about being a cash-strapped person. It's about not being willing to work hard enough, not being willing to give up enough.
Yeah.
To build Aviator, I gave up everything. My wife spent, literally, they put us on food stamps when we had our second child because our insurance didn't cover our home birth. And so we asked for mediation for our bills because it was $6,000 to have our child at home. And they're like, well, we can put you in for Medicaid. Cool, I don't even know what that is. I'm homeschooled. What do I know? And they gave us food stamps for 3 months. And it was 8 times what we spent on food. It was $436 a month. We were spending $26 a month or a week at most on food. We ate ramen. We ate potatoes. We ate beans. Starting Aviator, we worked our butts off, and we didn't give up because we didn't have enough money. That was the turning point for Aviator. When I realized that my family was fed, and that I could put the extra $140 a month toward buying extra units.
It's more than a college student ever eats. Ramen every day.
Yeah, but literally, that was the turning point.
Yeah.
So if you are willing to put yourself out there and willing to drive toward working extra hard, I understand being cash strapped. I'm 33 years old. At 22, I went completely, totally destitute, broke after being what people would consider wealthy, after doing very well. And then I lost everything again when we started Aviator, down to the point where literally there was nothing. Our car's tires were so incredibly raw with fibers showing. My dad took pity on me. He was like, I don't have money, but can I buy you tires? Right? Like trying to build this business because we believed that it would serve people. So I totally respect you, Bob. I respect the fact that you're cash strapped right now. Go listen to Gary V. Not for an hour, not for 2 hours, for 20 hours a week for the next month. Go find a side hustle. Go flip cars. Go flip something. If you can't find an investor, email me. Let's talk. Let's find something you believe in that you have expertise in. I will throw you $1,000 to help you invest and build something. I can't afford $1,000. I'm lying. Okay, $100. But I'll help you go buy some stamps that you can flip. All right. You can do it. When I was starting Aviator, I was serving tables on the side whenever I had to earn enough extra cash to buy extra wings and motors, whatever I had to do. If you believe in flying, you believe in flight, you believe this is something you're called to do, don't hold yourself back. Believe in yourself and work so hard it's stupid.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
That was a really big speech. Sorry.
Good job. That was motivational, though.
Well, it's what I believe in because, the thing is, when we recognize that flying will make us a better person, we recognize that there's something inspirational about the idea of doing something superhuman, The problem is we're oftentimes constrained by can't. I have a friend, his name is Nick Santasasso. It's a really hard name to say.
I don't think I want to say that.
Look him up. Look up Nick Santo. He's a new friend. I met him last Thursday.
Okay.
I call him a friend because we had dinner together. He gave a speech to a group of entrepreneurs that I know. This man was born with no legs, one arm, one finger.
Wow.
And he's 22 years old, and he travels the world. He's in China right now, giving a huge speaking tour. And he shares with people that if you look at every problem is can't. Like Nick wanted to be a wrestler in high school. He's got one freaking arm.
Yeah.
The construct should be can't. Instead it was how. How do I overcome? How do I break out of this mold of... I have a buddy who's watching the live stream right now. His name is Justin, and he's in a tough place. He has a job that doesn't pay him that much, that's limited hours. Yeah. He wants to fly. And he doesn't accept that he can't. He works overtime, saves his money, buys a laser printer, a laser cutter, to start emblazoning images on things for his friends to make a little extra cash. It's not can't, it's how. And I think it's so powerful. It's what we do when we fly is we overcome the possible. And we overcome the impossible and make it possible. And so, Bob, I say to you, my friend, don't ever say you can't. You can afford whatever you need to afford. You can do whatever you need to do. Don't try to get to where you have to get to. Just work your butt off and believe in yourself, because the reality is that there's always a point in our lives where we can't. But if you shift that and you reframe it to how do I get there, it's doable. By the way, Nick's coming to learn to fly.
Fantastic. When's he coming?
I'm not sure yet, because I have to completely redevelop the entire paramotor concept for a guy with no legs and one arm and one finger to fly. But he's going to fly like a boss.
Well, I never said that we can't. This ought to be fun.
It's going to be so fun.
It's going to be great.
Fully cast-ring nose wheel.
I think we have enough engineers out there to figure this out.
I think single brake line. So brake lines between the two, single across, and a mouth throttle.
We had talked about this today, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think Don King had mentioned that, and we had this big discussion back at the Red Barn about what's the possibility of making this happen.
It's going to happen. I know we can do cast-ring wheels.
You've got a couple of rocket scientists and a caveman working this one right now.
That's actually an accurate representation. Am I the caveman? All right, Midnight Fanner R0079. Do you guys ever think it would be worthwhile to create a series of safety videos to explain from a first-person view what to do in the event of stalls, collapses, etc.? Really tough question to answer. On a public side, here's my consideration. As someone who's had all the bad things happen, maybe not all the things that can happen, but a lot of bad things happen, I've chosen not to share a lot of the stuff that I have had happen to me publicly. Like my crash has never been shared in video format. I shared pictures, like still images from it. I shared the story of it for people to learn from. I chose not to share the video, and it's because my wife can't watch the video.
There's no reason to share a video. I mean,
I think there are.
Unless it's a learning tool that you really have some really good things you want to pass along to those who are actually flying that device.
Well, my thought process is that if I share the video that shares the emotion and the fear, hey, Papa, Brady, come here. Brady. Hey, happy dog. I think that the concept is that it's too emotional to share video.
Sure.
We are working on something called an LMS, which is called a Learning Management System, and we're developing intermediate and advanced courses. I would not want to show 50 videos of collapses, stalls, crashes to a student who's getting ready for their first flight.
No, it's not real motivational.
No, it's terrifying.
It's anti-motivational.
No, you have to have your mind open. You have to know what the odds are and what things are that could go wrong, and that's what we teach, that's what we train. But my thought process and consideration is more along the lines of inspiring and not inspiring fear.
Yeah.
And the biggest reason why is my wife can't watch my crash.
Yeah. So
I don't want your wife to watch, not Mike's because he doesn't have a wife. Don't worry, Tinder's not safe anymore. I don't want your wives to watch paramotor videos and stumble on crashes and think that that's the main thing that happens.
That's
because
correct. Right.
With good training, good experience, it's extraordinarily unlikely or uncommon that you would ever have an incident of any kind, right?
Yeah.
So will we do it? Yes, but we'll do it in private. We have an incredible safety class that takes a long time to go through that walks through everything that we've seen can go wrong.
Right.
And every student, after they've had their first flights, goes through that safety class. And
Yep.
it's crucial. It's crucial for their safety.
Yeah.
It's crucial for everyone's safety to understand what can go wrong and what to do about it, how to make the right decisions,
Yeah.
how not to freak out.
Yeah, it's not the kind of thing that's out there with the intent just to either scare or entertain. It's a type of tool that you learn the skill set you need in order to be safe.
Agreed.
And a little bit risk averse, right? To just live within your skill set.
I think being risk adverse.
Now, don't take the risk if you can't you can't pay the checks.
Well, and more
essentially.
than that, it's understanding what risks are, and that's what we see
Absolutely.
so much of an issue with
Yeah.
self-trained pilots. We had a guy
Right.
this week go into a tree in Jacksonville, fly in
Yeah.
the middle of a neighborhood with no
Yeah.
outs. I have no idea who he is or what his story is, but
Yeah,
it was inclement weather,
yeah,
flying inland over a downtown community. I have no understanding whatsoever for how, what the logical process was, and our students would know better, right? So it's really important, in my opinion, to mitigate risk by knowledge and not to scare your spouse.
right.
I want to fly as a handicapped person. I have been a fan for 3 years. I'm a software engineer and can think of everything. I have 28 hours in Cessna. Let me fly, please. Cerebral Dad, send us your information. Tell us your story. Tell us what's going on with you. While I will tell you, quite frankly, there's a guy in the chat right now. His name's Craig Taylor. Craig, good to see you, brother. He is a mensch among men. If you guys know Yiddish, you'll understand what I mean. He truly is an honorable man. And Craig lost his leg in a car accident, and he foot launches weekly off Nantucket Island. Great guy. And there are challenges physically that you can overcome, and there are challenges physically you may not be able to. And that's neither way is a bad thing. You may be a perfect candidate for a trike. You may be a perfect candidate for a tandem only, and to be able to share the experience with someone else. And nothing is going to be a negative to you, but your safety is our utmost concern. We're not going to put you in a position where, for instance, I don't know your story, but let's say you had traumatic brain injury and your reaction time is severely limited because of it. Yeah. We're not going to put you in a situation where you're going to kill yourself and hurt the whole sport and hurt your family and hurt yourself, obviously, because you're dead. We're going to assess you and do our very best to keep you safe. Yeah. While we would love to help you achieve your dream, we want you to be really self-critical and understand your own needs. So please be very well aware of that.
That's right.
So
There is some responsibility in that decision because you have to think about those in the community you're actually in the sport, and if you're you go out and do something that may really hurt yourself, it has an impact on the rest of us too. So you have to be cautious about those kinds of decisions, I think.
Absolutely. Craig Couch asks, how far can I push my stock arms, wing overs, and such on my nitro before worrying about bending them? So far, bending stock arms, I've seen two ways. One, double barrel rolls, so barrel roll, kick back barrel roll the other way, about 6 Gs of pressure, and big sats, heavy sats on small wings. Otherwise, they're very strong. Although I'm not a huge fan of pushing anything on equipment that's not designed for it. That's one of the reasons why we're so happy with our switch to Parajet and Fly products. They don't rely upon a single pen.
Yeah.
It's an integral system, so you're not relying on a small bolt.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's very important. Cerebral Dad says, I am a cripple Tucker got. I love it.
By the way, my pleasure, Sander. Appreciate that. And also, it looks like Starfighter's going to match 100.
Yes.
All right.
What's he matching?
Your 100.
My one.
Garber.
Okay, right on. I like it. All right, let's keep going. So, Garber, you've got $200 investment capital right now. Send us an email, Starfighter, send us your email. We'll connect everybody up. I'll give you investment capital. We're going to see you grow this thing. You got this. All right. Travis Martin, good to see you. Para Addict, always good to see you as well. JD863, that's the laser burner himself here in the chat. Glad you made a plaque as well. Charge us for them. Make them nice enough to charge us and make some money on that daggum thing, my friend. Let's see. Andrew Finnegan, good to see you as well. Craig Taylor, I'm coming to see your motor Friday. I'll work with Cerebral Dad in classes January if Mary can get him there. So I'd love to hear more about Cerebral Dad. Craig Taylor is one of the most giving people we've ever met in our lives. He donated an entire class to Resurgence PPG because he didn't want to train as a one-legged guy by himself. He wanted to have another guy there with one leg. I'm sorry if I'm putting you on blast, Craig, and that makes you upset. I'm sorry. I'm just proud of you. And what's really exciting to me, one of the things that I love about Aviator is that Craig's buying a house here Friday.
Wow. Welcome to Lake Wales.
Right?
Right? Yeah.
So he literally fell in love with the area. His wife fell in love with the area. They're buying a house here so they can spend time with the Aviator family even more. So,
All right.
Craig, it's an honor to have you, my friend. I can't wait to have you down here Friday. You can have my motor anytime you want it. Hobbs Family Adventures, welcome, sir. Vaprex, my instructor shared several hours of some terrifying crash videos due to bad weather before we flew. It was counterproductive. All I worried and thought about was crashing and dying.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, Vaprex, I used to do the same thing. I made every student watch the movie Risk and Reward before they flew because I felt like that was the smart thing to do. I learned from Eric DeFore that Eric DeFore doesn't use the word collapse in his training.
What does he say?
He says deflation.
Okay.
Because collapse sounds scary. Deflation sounds like something that happens. He doesn't show crash videos. He doesn't do anything until after people have enough flights to feel confident. We toe the line. We aren't as cautious because we want people to be very fully aware.
Right.
But I think it's really important to recognize that the fact that when you're going into this, and I'm sure Jeff could talk about this, you're going into your first flight as a fragile human, a fragile shell of who you are. You believe in your training.
Yeah.
You know you've done everything that hundreds, half a thousand of the people have done before you. Tons of people have done before you.
Yeah.
But it's still superhuman, which makes you feel like less of a human because you haven't done this before, right? And it's really scary, and things can go wrong. So we toe the line for sure. Vaprex, to clarify, we watch crash videos while we waited on whether to improve for kiting or flying. I understand. I think that's a counterproductive suit. I think that showing like what we do, and you could talk about this some because I saw you doing it this morning.
Yeah.
We go frame by frame through successes and failures for every student that's there, and as we're introducing new topics, because we break the school into 3 different segments where it's like kiting, motor control, putting it all together, right?
Yeah.
Walk people through like say you've been kiting,
Okay.
and you've had the motor in your back, and
Yeah.
you're about to go tow for the first time. What do
Right.
we do ahead of time?
Ahead of time for the initial piece, that's the kiting is obviously important, but there's a lot of discussion and motor simulation, so you have the idea of what's happening step by step throughout the entire phase from inflation to actual takeoff and then landing. And you get that pushed into you constantly over and over and over until the point where it actually is there. And so we try to make it ingrained and autonomic. You get one shot at your first ride up, and
Right.
It's a success whether it is or isn't.
Yeah,
know.
it's a successful practice
Right.
launch of nothing
That is
else.
correct.
Yeah.
And so all of that is instilled in you through the course of that first moment when you're told, "Come to me." And that's a lot of work to get to that level. That's 3 or 4 hard days of constant, continual discussion and/or / just training. Throughout a lot of questionnaire, a lot of just trial and error, continual till you have what it takes really to get to that level.
One thing a big part of it is Chris has worked so hard to systemize every word
He
that's
has
said.
a systemic process that
really
actually
does.
he has nailed.
I'm so
amazing.
impressed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been 2 months, and it's
Yeah.
holy cow, what a difference.
Yeah, he is. It's quite a joy to work with him. It's really an honor to work, not only with him but you as well, and to see both of you work together, which it really is, quite a.
I had fun kiting training with you last night.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's one of the things that I try to go out and do is I want to remind you guys that it's
Yeah.
okay to stop the student, to take over the wing, and
Yeah.
show them what you mean instead of just trying to explain it.
Yeah, sometimes you get into the you get into it a little bit, into the moment, and you get the opportunity to step back and kind of see it in a different way. And that was kind of nice to see that.
It was
'Cause
fun.
I'm always a student, and I'm always learning, and I'm learning to teach as much as I'm learning to learn just to continue to fly. And so it's nice to be able to share all of those skill sets, how to teach a student as much as it is to actually just do the sport itself. So that's what is so nice about being here
Yeah.
as a adjunct support.
It's good to have you, man.
To help and
You're not allowed to
pass
leave, you
along
know that, right?
good fun. I don't want to. I came up here with the idea that I wanted to, like we always talk about, make a difference, but just more than that, really. I wanted to be able to travel take what Aviator had and pass it on to some of the your satellite schools that are out there.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Apparently, we're taking a trip June 10th because Nina will actually murder me if we don't.
And I don't want to be able to work with some of those folks that are out there. And so, you take what you take the basis for the instruction that Aviator has, and you go out and you support, some of your other folks that are out there, your instructors. And I want to be able to do that.
I'm glad you're here.
It's
I
fun
really
to-
am. I'm so honored.
yeah.
I'm so honored by everyone on the team. Like we have, I think at this point right now, I can confidently say we have the best team that I've ever seen constructed. There's no one on the team that I feel is slacking or dropping the ball. That's not living and exercising the top level of who they can be. It's incredible.
And I don't see them. I don't see that they ever burn out. They get up at 6 o'clock. We get a little bit of a sunrise coffee in the morning at 1,000 feet. A little Starbucks at 1,000. Land and then start the day. And it's a pleasure.
It's such a joy.
It is a pleasure.
SuddenFashion.com asks, should I worry about developing bad habits while practicing kiting before I come to training? Yes, you should worry deeply if you're not following the Aviator PPG How to Kite video that's free on YouTube, or if you buy it, it helps out with the Resurgence PPG. Please make a donation to them anytime you watch it because we want to support them. It costs us about $8,000 to make the video. We were planning on selling it or giving it away for free with wing sales. The entire community backlashed at us. They were so pissed off that we would dare to sell a video on how to kite for $200. And our plan was we're going to sell it for $200 and we'll give it for free if they buy a wing to try to help jumpstart people's trainings because it cost us a lot. Like we thought maybe 40 people would buy it, we get our money back, right?
I don't understand why there's an issue there.
Well, this community can backlash pretty hard. So we said, you know what? Screw it. Let's do something different instead. Let's give it away for free and let's have people donate to Resurgence as a thank you. Because Resurgence helps get veterans in the air and helps people have a better life. And so we did. And so we've given away, and it's been watched like 20,000 times, I think, or a lot of times.
That's great.
It's a 2-hour video, so
Yeah.
it's a lot. But watch that DVD. If you don't have it or you don't have internet access, which clearly you do, you're watching the podcast live right now. If you watch that, you won't develop bad habits. What you will do is give yourself an opportunity to be exceptional. Were you here for AJ's training?
I was. I spent a little bit of time working with him on kiting, but
So-
he had already had it nailed by the time we even got it.
He had
to him,
8
actually.
hours,
Yeah.
8 hours of kiting before he came.
Yeah, he's a sharp kid.
He's a sharp kid, but what's exceptional is if you watch the video,
Yeah.
particularly if you have a mentor, even electronically, like he'd send me videos and I give him tips, right?
Yeah.
And AJ had a relationship. I couldn't do that for everybody, but we're developing an ambassador program that
Yeah.
allows our past students to be able to help new pilots learn to kite before they come.
I love that idea.
I don't want to
And
talk too much about it.
Yeah, but I think it's great. That's why I just want to be part of that.
Well, our goal is that we want to take the training program from 14 days,
Yeah.
15 days,
Yeah.
to 5 to 7.
Yeah.
So more people can come.
It makes a great amount of sense, and I really like that.
Well, if you know how to kite before you come and you have the ground school before you come, all you have
Right.
to do is come in simulator.
Right.
Oh my gosh, our new simulator is going to be so
Yeah.
awesome, by the way. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. And virtual reality and all the other stuff
Yeah.
we're doing, it's going to be so cool.
Yeah.
So, guys, long story short, yes, you can learn bad habits, but if you follow what's in the video, which is the Aviator PPG ground handling full length on YouTube, we're gonna post it in the chat right now so you guys can see it if you're watching live. Watch the video, learn as much as you can. If you'd like to learn, don't shortcut yourself with an old glider.
Yeah.
Somebody posted today, bless their heart. Cloud9 in Utah posted this photo of somebody who got ripped off. They bought a brand new wing and harness, and they went to Point of the Mountain, Utah to fly it. It was an 18-year-old APCO wing in a tree climbing harness.
Sounds like my stuff in the closet. Don't say anything.
Ironically enough, you have a Mac Paracharger. You can talk about the Mac Paracharger.
I do, but I also have the old Sting as well.
Oh, you
and
have a Sting.
I owned
Yeah.
an APCO Fiesta.
A Fiesta. Nice.
Yeah, that was my first
That sounds
one,
like a good time.
if you can believe that.
Well, the encouragement I would say is that don't shortcut yourself by buying something cheap off eBay.
Yeah.
Buy the wing you're going to fly, even if it takes you longer to save up for it. Bob Garber, save up. Watch Gary Vee, find side hustles, go to garage sales, do something that helps you inspire yourself. Guys, it is literally my entire team behind the counter over there watching from over there is yawning, except for Mary,
guys.
who's drinking.
I think every time we say a word, they're drinking. What is that word, guys?
It's just that. Probably that.
And
Fabio
paraglider.
2101 says, should I buy a B-wing for my first wing? My friend, watch the video releasing tomorrow about what wing to buy. It's the very first overview of what we look for as beginner pilots and what you should buy and fly. There'll be in-depth reviews of A-wings, B-wings, C-wings, D-wings, and certified wings to come. But a B-wing is a fine wing as your first wing if you're going to training where they let you use an A-wing.
Yeah.
You don't want to start on a B-wing. You want to start on an A-wing. Let's see.
Hey, Eric, I just wanted to mention, I know one of my buddy who tried to get me into the sport back there, my F4 back-ender buddy, we had looked on eBay, but I subscribe to everything you say. You really need to start out with new equipment, and you need to own that stuff, and you need to love it and keep it maintained. And then when things go bad, continue to fix the stuff with new equipment. Don't try to fix it yourself.
And this is a guy flying a 40-year-old motor.
Embarrassingly enough, I've had 3 of those 40-year-old motors, actually.
Honestly, dude, I'll say again, if you can handle the weight, which you're built like a brick house, you can.
Thank you. It's only because of that.
You can handle it.
Yeah.
Please
But,
borrow one of my motors more often.
I do all the time.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I absolutely do. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. It's truly an honor to be here with you all, to have a cocktail and to enjoy your company. If you want to bless the show, send us bourbon. If you want to be on the show, we'd love to have you. I want to give a huge shout out to a gentleman that many of you may not know, who's going to be on the show later this month, or early next month, actually. His name is Will, and Will is he's 19. If any of you guys use Reddit, you know Will. This is the first time we've done this. We're paying to fly Will down here because I want to interview him. I've never met him. This is a first time for me.
That's awesome. Yeah.
His name on Reddit is Karma Commando. Which on Reddit you can get karma for good posts, right? So Will is one of the most impassioned aviators I've ever met. He flies a Solo 210 on a Paracruiser frame, which the Paracruiser frame is much better than the frame he bought it on, which he says was as bad as masking paper or something. It's bad. But Will has brought himself to the forefront, okay, because he replies to every single comment, every single post on Reddit, every post about paramotors, every question, everything. And he doesn't answer it with this snarky BS reply of like, hey, I'm awesome, screw you. No, he is like, hi, I have enough experience now with paramotors to be able to offer you this answer. I hope it helps.
Yeah.
I've never met the guy, but what I've seen from him is that he carries the values that we hold dear. He wants to bless the entire community. He's passionate about flying, to the point where John Hancock, our marketing director, who's behind the camera, was like, can we have him on the podcast? And I was like, yeah. He's like, really? And I said, yeah. And he said, can we fly him to Florida? I said, yeah, and we'll pay for it. He was like, okay. And so that happened yesterday. They bought the flight yesterday afternoon.
Huh.
He'll be here next month, and we're going to have Will on the podcast to talk about why he shares so much.
Nice.
And maybe offer him a job. We'll see. But seriously, I'm so impressed by this kid. And I can't wait to have him on the show. We're going to have a lot of shows before then, at least 3 shows before then. This coming week, I have Simon from Parajet's going to be here. Gilo was supposed to come, but apparently he's like hella skiing with Bear Grylls or something. Gilo, I'm a little bit sad because first she bailed on our 2-day meeting, and second, I didn't get invited. So I would have come. Sorry, podcasters. I would have skipped a podcast for that.
I may buy the video. I don't know.
And then the following week, we'll have Viterazzi here. We'll have Luca and Matteo from Viterazzi, at least. I think Andrea as well.
That's going to be a good one.
So we'll have them here as well. Hopefully, we'll have them on the podcast. We've got lots of business meetings. We have our electronic fuel injection coming out for the Viterazzi 185. I get my first flight on our new electric paramotor.
That's pretty sexy.
Endless foot drag coming up the following weekend.
Nice.
And then we should have Will here. So, guys, it's a huge month. It's a huge amount of things going on.
Is.
But to Mark Dillner, Emilio, Andrew, Jean Gauthier, Sandor, Sudden Fashion Ferret, Justin Fox, great to see you, Mike R, Kurt Duggar, and Vaprex. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Craig Taylor, can't wait for Friday till you steal my motor. And guys, it's an honor as always. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your attention. If we can do anything to serve you, please let us know. We are always here for you guys. This show is about the aviators that we love and respect, the people we can bring in to share some color and some information, something that's not just answering questions. But we're really here to serve each and every one of you. So thank you, Mike. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. You have a great lineup coming up. Can't
It's
wait
going to be
to see
fun.
It. Nice.
Jeff, thank you
Yeah.
as well. To John, Nina, Mary, thank you all for being here. And to
All
the
right.
puppies.
The hidden heroes.
They're the best. Guys, we're going to see you all next week on Tuesday, and have a great week. So long.
All right. Ciao all.